Episode 112 of A Hoops Journey. We get to sit down with Mr. Emmy Unaegbu, all the way in Abu Dhabi. Great story. Lots of stuff about hard work, showing up even when nobody invites you, and continuing to believe in yourself. Finds himself with a great job in the NBA, helping grow the game, which is fantastic, and a really good story overall, and just a great human being. Before you start the episode, please like, subscribe, share the word. That's how you can do it without any financial support for us. We out here grinding just on a Wednesday afternoon in Vancouver, doing it so you guys can get some good content. We appreciate every single one of you and know you'll enjoy this episode. Please sit down and enjoy 112. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey, episode 112, where the players dwell. Also,
there we go.
One of the best 90s R&B groups. If you don't know, you better check it. The Only You remix still slaps. Really excited about today. We consider A Hoops Journey mostly Canadian, but we do go international in terms of who we connect with. And today we have our most international guest yet, I believe. It is a Wednesday morning here in Vancouver, and it is Thursday evening for this guy.
No, it's not. It's a Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening. I'm tripping. Wow, there's no time in the world. Come on, Mitch, get it together here. See, I'm in holiday mode. But we got from my high school, Terry Fox to Simon Fraser, dual sport athlete there, but mostly hooper. All the way to the Vancouver Titans, overseas, the ups, downs, the in-betweens. A guy who's got a great story. I feel like I say this a lot, but we probably should put a cap on today because we could be chopping it up all night and all morning, depending on where we are. The official title is the NBA Basketball Operations of Europe and the Middle East, which we'll get into, which is super cool. But episode 112. We have Emmanuel, aka Emmy Unaegbu, with us today. How are you, my man?
Mitch, I'm good, man. I really appreciate the invite. Like I said, offline, I've been listening to the pod since you guys started during COVID, and I think I've missed maybe 4 or 5 episodes max. So I'm a big fan of the show. So
we'll allow that. We'll allow the misses.
Yeah. I'll run those back. I'll get back to them before once I get some time. But no, it's great to be here, man. I really appreciate the invite. So I'm excited to chop it up with you tonight.
Yeah, man. And, me and you, we mostly through DM on Instagram, sending hip hop videos and just chatting up on life and stuff like that and checking in. And how are you doing? I apologize for my nasal sound today. Everybody listening, I got my wife got sick like 3 weeks ago, and a week and a half went by. We went on a vacation. I was like, I'm good. I made it. And then like 5 days ago, I woke up and I thought my head was going to blow off because it was like, my sinus was insane. So apologize for that. How are you, man? We just been talking. You got 2 little ones. Your son just turned 3 months today. Juggling all that, juggling life in Abu Dhabi where you are. Like, how are things and how's the family and how's life treating you, man?
Man, overall, I am fantastic. To be honest, I have no real complaints. Like I said, my wife is... My wife and I are here with 2 kids. My son just turned 3 months today. My daughter is 2, almost 2.5.
Damn.
I'm very busy.
That seems crazy too, man.
Yeah, it was 2 under 2. Their birthdays are 11 days apart.
No way.
2 years minus 11 days apart.
Sure.
That makes sense.
But you gotta load up financially. That's all I'm saying.
We're trying, man.
They don't know it yet, but they're going to be getting 2-for-1 parties their entire life.
I think the deal that we came up with is that next year, like Sovereign, my son, he'll have his birthday because it'll be his first birthday. But everything after that is just we're gonna pick a date halfway in between the 19th and the 30th and just run it. Happy birthday to both of you. Happy cake, something like that. Yeah. But no, to answer your question, like everything is great. Life is good. Life is busy, but it's a good busy, man. I really have no complaints from that end at all. So. yeah, very, very
I mean,
happy with what's happening.
you've always been like a glass half full kind of guy. At least that's my take on you, man. And just sort of how you approach the game as a player and the things you were willing to do for your teammates to get wins and things like that. A lot of the stuff that others weren't. So I can just imagine what you're like in your work and business life and your parenting life. It probably is very similar. And the approach and mental approach are probably very same, as well as counting the blessings and thinking of all the good things, as opposed to, I mean, we can all sit there and dwell on how hard life is, right? But I mean, at some point you got to realize and take a step back and look around and go, hey, it ain't that bad, you know?
No, it's true. I think my wife is kind of tired of my basketball analogies and how I apply those to life. I'd be like, you know what? Sometimes you turn the ball over and okay, you can sit there and complain about it, or you can turn around, sprint back on defense. You can take, things like that. So I bring up sports a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to sort of take like the negative approach or negative route when things aren't necessarily going your way. But I mean, same for you. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of the life lessons that you've learned have come through sport. And for 100%. Me, it's like, whenever I've faced any type of challenge or issue or problem, I don't make it a problem until it becomes a problem. I try to stay as solution based as possible and try to find answers and ways to fix things if things aren't going your way. So yeah, like you said, I try to keep as positive attitude as possible when it comes to, just life in general.
Good stuff, man. And I think that's something we'll get into more about the show and kind of like your journey and how you've ended up where you are. You've got to be adaptable and you've got to be able to find solutions to do what you're doing these days. So we'll talk more about that, but let's get into it, man. I mean, I know lots about you, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners who will be your homies and friends and family will check it out. But the people that don't know, like, talk about you, your family. How does the Unaegbu family end up in Poco and Terry Fox, and sort of how sport became, a part of your life, right?
You said how much time do we got?
Yeah, I know, right?
Just joking. Well, the Unaegbus ended up in. Let's just start with BC. My parents, my dad and my mom, they moved to Canada. Actually, my dad came in 1980, and then my mom joined him in September 81. And my dad was a student at Regent College, which I believe was near the UBC campus at the time. I'm not sure if it still exists. But yeah, when he first came, he settled in Abbotsford. So I was actually born in Matsqui. All the way out there. Yeah. So that's where I was born. That's where my older sister Ruth was born. And I think my sister Joy was born there too. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that's sort of where we started. And then, when elementary school sort of came around, we actually grew up in Vancouver in East Van, not too far from Nat Bailey Stadium.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, we were involved in all types of sports, baseball, soccer. I used to love volleyball. That was what I thought was going to be like my ticket, that in soccer, football. Mm-hmm. But also, we grew up playing, road hockey, roller hockey. I'm the age of when the Vancouver Voodoo were in town. Yes. I'm not sure if you remember the Vancouver Voodoo.
Of course, man.
Yeah, so we used to watch all those games and just enjoyed being out there, just playing all types of sports. I can't say I
someone
really
rollerblading the other day. I saw someone rollerblading there. I was dying. I was like, man, people still rollerblade? That's amazing.
Yeah, they do. They do. I gotta get a new set.
Yeah.
At least teach my kids how to do it eventually. But yeah, we grew up there just on 45th and Knight. I went to Sir Sanford Elementary School. Sir Sanford Fleming Elementary School, I should say.
Not far from you these days, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're in Champlain Heights.
Oh, yeah.
Not far at all. Just like basically 54th-ish kind of, yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, we used to take that, I think it was Victoria Drive or something like that. They would go straight to Metrotown. So we used to pass Champlain all the time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's giving me memories. That's right near Killarney School, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And we're going back.
Yeah, we're going way back. But yeah, that was the area that we grew up in. And that was, the era of, where all the homies were because you would walk by and the house that had the lawn with all the bikes outside. But who's there today? That was, so we were just outside literally all the time. and the area that we grew up was a townhouse complex. It was called Culloden Court. It was right there on 45th and Ninth. And the great thing about, our childhood growing up is that a lot of the kids in our area that we grew up were all around the same age, all within, 6-7 years of each other. So it was just sports all day. It was playing, capture the flag, all those different, those games and sports, anything just to stay active, to be outside, because you knew that once you were outside, like if you came inside to get a drink, or if you came inside to change your shirt, then you weren't going back out. So we stayed outside as much as possible.
Yeah.
So we played a ton of sports growing up. When I was 12, I got a late birthday. So I started, grade 8 when I was 12. I actually spent my first 2 months of high school at John Oliver. That was in our catchment.
The Jokers.
So yeah. So I was the Joker for, I don't know, a month and a half or so. And then we moved out to Poco.
Okay.
And it was a bit of a surprise. And, when you're that age where you're 12, 13, you're still just, trying to figure out who you are, where you fit, in like the social scheme of high school or junior high, whatever it is. And I felt that was like the rug was like pulled out from under me. I was devastated. I'm not going to lie. Like when we left Vancouver, because all my friends were there, family was there. And then we just moved I didn't even really know what Port Coquitlam was or where it was. But we ended up moving out to Poco. And that honestly, I can say now was one of the best life experiences for me in terms of my sports career or basketball career, or just sort of what gave me that love for the sport of basketball. Because like I said before, basketball was maybe third or fourth on my list. And it wasn't until, coming out to Poco, I did 1 year at George Perks, and then that turned into, I think, a middle school. And then that's where I went to Terry Fox. And I was the first group, when they changed to grade 9 to 12. So I was the first group of grade 9s that came in.
Oh, damn. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Definitely was.
Yeah. Because it used to just be Perks was 8, 9, 10, and then Fox was just 11, 12 back then, right? So, yeah, that is, it's a hard thing, right? I always think of that, like when we have new kids coming to our schools and things like that. I'm like, you're 12, 13 years old, you're just trying to grow a beard and like figure life out. And then all of a sudden, and your parents are obviously doing it from good intentions, right? Like good intentions to move to Canada, have a family, create something, but good intentions to move to Poco. But it still doesn't take the hardness for you to be like, man, I'm just kind of getting settled, and now I got to meet a whole bunch of new people and go to like a place like Poco, right? Which is pretty unique in itself. You know what I mean? So definitely, tough transition.
Yeah, it was a little bit tough, but looking back on it now, and looking back from a different perspective, especially as the parent, it's your responsibility now. Like I will have to make some difficult decisions that will benefit the family. You know what I mean?
Say less. Yeah.
And they're going to be difficult. There's going to be maybe some people disappointed, or maybe even a little bit of backlash. But my job now, and this is what I think about, it's like the one thing I think about, like when I wake up, like how, it's just, I'm leading a family, and a lot of the decisions I make, a lot of the relationships in terms of networking and all these different things, like everything comes back to the family. Right. And so when I think about when we moved to Poco, I didn't really see the big picture at the time. Like I said, we grew up in a townhouse complex of 45th and Ninth, which is like, low income housing. Yeah. But when we moved to Poco, that was the first time that my parents owned a house. That was the first house that we bought. And these were right there on Coast Meridian. Yeah. And they were right across from George Perks. I just hopped the fence and boom, I'm at school. That's awesome. And my brother will probably laugh at this, but like for us, we were like, man, this sucks. Like, oh, I can't believe, like, because my brother Tim, Tim.
He wasn't athletic enough to hop the fence, or what?
Right, exactly. And he was 7 at the time. But when we moved to this house, like this is the first time that my parents were homeowners. Yeah. Which, when you think about it now, I mean, obviously I came to this realization years ago, but when I think about where my parents started, where they grew up in Nigeria, I went to Nigeria in 2017. And I saw where they grew up and how everything started. So to go from where they started in Nigeria moved to Canada without knowing one single person. And now they're owning a house. It's unbelievable. Like the sacrifice, we're talking about sacrifices and leading a family. Like my dad, I'm not sure if you've met him. You've seen him around.
Yep.
My dad, Ruben Alajema. If we're talking about the GOAT, that's the dude right there. I'm not going to lie. And my mom, of course.
Yeah.
But so I was going to say, like when they moved to Poco, that was the first house that we owned. And speaking of sacrifices, my brother Tim and I, we had to share a room, right? So I'm starting high school and I got to share a room again with my brother. But it was actually big time. But it was actually like the baby room in the townhouse. So like the room was like, you saw my little office here. Like it was literally the size of this tiny room. And there's like elephant and like balloon wallpaper on the on the top panel of the walls. And I was devastated. But it didn't take long for me to realize that, these are the sort of sacrifices and that parents have to make. And in the long run, it big time benefited our whole family. So sure, man. Shout out to both my parents.
Doing this show I've always known it. And, just being like everyone in Canada is some form of immigrant, but you just realize talking with people that like how young Canada still actually is, right? Like we're talking like your parents they've done all this stuff, but really it's only been like 40-ish years, Right. Like, that's crazy to think about. You know what I mean? It feels like this huge amount of time, but it's always just so cool how many men and women I've had the chance to talk to that are just like, it was the parents that moved and took the first risk. And then it kind of like, you just inherently learn from that, And you're right, man, when it comes to parenting, like we had a bit of a rough end of the school year with our son. And my wife and I just realized it's like, okay, well, I guess for the next, he's going into grade 2. So 11 years, like, and more, but like, we're going to advocate like crazy for this kid. Like we are not sitting on the sidelines waiting for a teacher, principal, vice principal to be like, oh, let's do it. No, we are going to be front and center in everything. And it's just kind of, it's what you take on. It's what you sign up for. Right. And good on you, man. That's dope.
Yeah, no, but I mean, likewise for you, I think it's great to advocate for your son. I think once he gets older and he realizes, what you and your wife have done for him and continue to do for him, these are things that, it takes some life experiences, it takes some maturity, but these are things that it will come back. That's not the reason you're doing it, but that appreciation will come back eventually, hopefully, and they'll realize, what you,
that's what we keep telling ourselves,
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I guess that's, we'll see. Time will tell.
No doubt. All right. So George Perks, now we're at Terry Fox, man. And we've obviously had Rich and Don on. You go on and have, your last 2 high school years get to play in a couple really good teams, obviously grade 12 and unfortunate, lost in the provincial final, but like, which we'll get into. I know, right? I was doing some reading this morning and I was like, I know we won't want to, but we will, but just sort of, one of those, when you think about that, which we'll talk about, is like, what a Pitt and Fox are half an hour apart from each other. And it's like, if you guys would have played each other 15 times, who knows how it would have gone, you know what I mean? So, you kind of get yourself settled in, you figure things out. Terry Fox basketball, football, talk about those experiences and the people that you were connected with and the power of sport. We've mentioned many times, just when you make a tough move at that age, you don't know it yet, but like you go to the first football practice and there's like 50 dudes that you're not going to have time to get to know them all, or basketball practice or whatever. Like there's 12 guys, like you're meeting people right away. Right. So talk about that, man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, at Terry Fox, I'm not sure if you remember this, but like you were part of my first experience at Terry Fox basketball.
Okay.
Like we were the group coming from George Perks. It was us and I think a group coming from Port Coquitlam, which was the feeders into Fox.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that summer there was the spring league, the spring league at Thomas Haney.
Yes, sir.
So I think it was you and Colin McDonald.
Yep.
Who coached us coming up. So that was like, so our group was like myself, Dean Whalen, Steve Crump, and obviously my main man, Taylor, Cheris Wilding.
We used to roast Taylor, but remember he had the hair with the berets and stuff?
Yeah. He had the long hair and he had the clips. We talk about it every so often. I remember the day that he walked in because he came in a little bit late. He showed up at Thomas Haney and we had no clue who he was.
Yeah.
He had like he had the long hair. like down to his, past his shoulders.
Yeah.
He had like he had the clips in his hair. I'm pretty sure he came in on a skateboard or a boogie board or something like that. And we're all kind of like, who is this dude, man? But once you gave him the ball, I was like, okay, this guy's serious.
Well, Rich and Don were like, there's going to be a new guy showing up today, like just welcome him or whatever. And we're like, all right. We walked in and we were like, what the? And then, exactly. It was like
he plays basketball, but he plays basketball, man.
Yeah.
And no, like Taylor is literally like my best friend in the world. Like we've been friends ever since that day.
That's dope.
But yeah, that was pretty much one of my earlier memories of Terry Fox basketball, is just being on that spring league team, going from grade 8 into grade 9. And I forgot the name of our grade 9 coach. I want to say I forgot his first name, but I think his last name was Parker. And he was I forgot his first name. But he was our coach. Steve Parker? No, not Steve Parker. But he was our coach in grade 9, and that year in grade 9, we were awful. We were terrible.
Yeah.
I think we played almost 40 games that year. I think we won like, I don't know, I'd say like 10 or 12. Like we weren't a great team, but you can see that we had like the pieces for a great team. Mm-hmm. And we had the coaching, and we had the guys who had that drive to get better. By the time I got to grade 9, I'd sort of given up on my dreams of being a volleyball player. Like I honestly, I just love volleyball. I just had a lot of success earlier in elementary school. Basketball I was okay at, but it wasn't like my main thing. Mm-hmm. But, by the time grade 9 rolled around, because George Perks, there was no grade 8 team. And, there was no real club basketball back then. So I was like, okay. I was still playing football at the time. I was still playing soccer at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was still a little bit focused on that. But I was like, you know what? Let me try to put in a bit more effort into try to become a better basketball player. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty easy doing that because of the guys that I was surrounded by, guys like Taylor, guys like, Steve Crump, like I mentioned before, Dean Whalen. And there's a few other guys. You remember Brody Anderson, Kenny Ojla, those guys, right? We were,
gym rats, man.
We were gym rats. And again, one of my earlier memories of Terry Fox basketball was like, we didn't live too far from, this is the old Terry Fox, by the way, right?
Yep.
So we didn't live too far away from the school. So I would just chill after school, and I would just watch like Jim Martin, Bryce McDonald, Neil Morrison. Like they're the age group above me. So I would watch their practices, and then I would stay even longer. Then I would watch the senior boys. And that was like the seniors that year were like Jeff Antwi, JoJo.
Yes.
I forgot who else. I think Rich Morgan was on that team.
Richie would have been on there.
Their age. Remember Benji Marshall, Neil Figueres, all those guys. Like when I was in grade 9,
they lost to kids, right? In the final. I think at GM Place.
Yeah, at GM Place. I went to watch that game. But like those guys were, I mean, they're 3 years older than me, which the older you get, obviously that age gap sort of lessens a bit. But when you're in grade 9, you're 13, 14 years old. You couldn't tell me that Jeff Antwi was not going to the NBA. He was like a hero to me. I was like, man, that dude is good. Like JoJo, I remember seeing him on the fast break. He'd be banging on dudes. I was just like, I cannot. And I used to watch those games. I remember Rich Chambers screaming his lungs out at, do you remember there was a guy named Herman Chan?
Yeah. I remember, okay. Yeah.
And he was, I thought he was I thought he was a decent player, but like he was, he barely saw the floor. He was the end of the bench, and he would just get like Chambers would be all over him, but he would just be like, okay, coach. And I'm like, how does he do that? So I learned a lot from just watching guys like that. Mm-hmm. And I sort of tried to like prepare myself because like when I was in grade 9, I was thinking that I hope I make the team in grade 11 and grade 12. Like I hope I'm picked,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember watching those guys play, watching those guys practice, and it used to just like inspire me because I'm like, I just need to get to that level. Like I have to get to that level at some point in my high school career. So yeah, I just remember just being there, getting home at like 8:30 p.m. after just watching those guys just practice and shoot and get better and compete. So that's sort of how I built that that fire I was always competitive, but that's how I sort of, I sort of sharpened that, and it's with me today, for better or for worse.
Depending who we ask, yeah.
Yeah, depending on who we ask.
Well, there's been a few people who probably go like this with their nose that have felt an elbow or something, right?
Yeah. A couple here and there.
And taking a few rebounds from a few people too. That's all good though. It's in between the lines, man.
It's all part of competing, and it is all between the lines. Like you get into pretty competitive situations in practice. If you're going 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, or if you're doing a rebounding drill, like I was just sort of built to, and I'm not even sure where I got it from, because it's not like my dad is not a competitive person, but they never pushed sports on us at all.
Yeah.
He would like my mom and my dad, they would come to literally every game from elementary school all the way to SFU. You said we'll talk about the Titans later. They came to all those games, but it was never like, hey, you need to go out. I need 18 points. I need 12 boards. I need, whatever. It was just like, hey, good job. Go, a lot of my teammates used to laugh because in their minds, my dad had like a pretty thick, Nigerian accent. And he used to scream, go Ravens, from the top of the bleachers.
Yeah.
But that's what he was about. He just supported everybody. He just wanted to, as long as everybody had a good time, competed and finished the game healthy, that's all they wanted,
Perfect. So I love that. That's cool, man. And like, you think about the names that you just kind of listed off between like the guys that you got to play with, including yourself, and then 1 year ahead of you, 2 years ahead of you, you just listed off like 15 guys that played post-secondary,
Right.
And I'm not trying to sound like an old head or whatever, but there just weren't as many schools back then. Right. So it was like,
the
high school level was, you're talking about Herman Chenon's like, well, you're actually coming off the bench because Jeff Antwi's going to be like, he's going to be close to an assist breaking guy at SFU in the future. You just don't know it yet. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Crazy the talent that was there. And you're right. Just talked about this with Michael Grange on the last episode. And we were talking about the same thing as like looking up to, it's like, well, yeah, I know who Steph Curry is or Steve Nash, but like I'm in the gym watching these guys and that they seem like superheroes to me, and I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tangible.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like the type of basketball I wanted to be wasn't, this is the Jordan era as well, right? So you see Jordan on TV, but I think in grade 9, grade 10, I knew how good I was. Like I knew I wasn't going to be Jordan, but I was like, if I can aspire to be, as good as JoJo. I used to love JoJo's game because we kind of played like the same position.
Yeah.
So I used to love watching him play. I used to love watching guys like Jamie Schultz, right? You remember him because he was like inside, outside. He could play like a 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
He had a little feathery jumper. I was like, man, that guy is so skilled. Like, what do I need to do to get to the level of, how these guys play in terms of skill,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like those tangible skills and people were right there in front of me, and they were from Poco,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was a really cool experience growing up.
Making me feel old, man. I forgot how many of these kids actually did coach. I forgot I did all that, man. It's wild.
Yeah, you did. You're like the OG. You're like the OG. At least one of the OGs, and that's it's a compliment, obviously.
Appreciate
you
that.
You look fantastic, and you look fantastic, by the way. Let me add that.
I'll get my wife to answer that later, but yeah, sure. Thanks. I'll take it from you. Your Wi-Fi must be dodgy over there. What can we say about the people at Parkside, especially our guy Sam Payne, a huge supporter of basketball in our community? The gentleman does many things behind the scenes that people don't know about. And one of those is supporting our podcast from literally day one. Sam reached out to us and said, hey, I like what you're doing. How do we get involved? And what you can do is find them at any local government store or come down to the brewery, sit on the patio, sit in the back, listen to the music, come for music trivia night, whatever it is. The wide variety of beer that they offer is second to none. And Port Moody in the Brewers Row is a great place to be. We are so appreciative of Parkside Brewery, we can't even say it in enough words. Head down, we hope to see you Parkside. And if you can't, find a way to support, because they do a lot for us. Cheers. So talk about those years with, Rich and Don, and kind of the intensity of the practices, and sort of, the level of basketball for high school is pretty high, man. What you're hearing and seeing every day, and then the expectations in terms of living up to the legend of Terry, right?
Yeah.
Which I think we all wear and hold to our hearts dearly. And those that went through those practices and times know what it means and who Terry is to us. But I think there's something special, and there's a reason that, when people think of Terry Fox basketball that have played it, something good usually comes from their brain, because it was a pretty crazy experience. And then being able to play on like really good teams also helps too, right? So talk about those 2 years and that fun time. And then when did you start to see yourself as someone who was going to play post-secondary?
Those are good questions. I'll start with playing for Rich and for Coach Van Os. So I think Van Os, Don, he coached us. See, I barely even called him Don. I still called him Coach. I was going to go say Coach Van Os and Coach Chambers. Like Don and Rich just sound weird to me. So
yeah, it's weird, right?
But Coach Van Os, we had him in grade 10. So I think he came down from seniors, and I think they just sort of recognized that our group was likely going to be a special group. So I guess he just came down to grade 10 to coach us and just sort of, groom us and prepare us for senior basketball. So we had a complete turnaround going into our grade 10 year from grade 9. Like I said, grade 9, we didn't win too many games. We were competitive, but we just weren't as good as they saw that we were going to be. So by grade 10, I think even in the preseason rankings, we were either 1 or 2, top 5 for sure. And that year was a great year. It was a very successful year. That was again, like you mentioned, Pitt Meadows. That's where that rivalry with Pitt Meadows, the Aaron Christensen, Michael Lane, all those guys. That's where that was like a true rivalry, a real rivalry. That's where that really started. Personally, that year, I think I had a lot of growth, like physically. Like I grew from like 6'1" to about like 6'3.5" ish, just during that school year. In grade 8, for reference, I was like 5'8". I was never like short or like small, but in grade 8, you're like 5'8", 5'9" ish. But I grew like 6-7 inches, almost 8 inches within those 2 years. And during that time, I would actually notice like how we were getting better as a team, and how, we call it, playing the Terry Fox way. That was introduced to us very, very early. And we sort of understood exactly what it meant to wear, the Terry Fox jersey, understanding his legacy and what he's done for not just the city of Poco, but literally worldwide, and, he's done outside of Canada and what he stood for. So we understood that when you put that jersey on, like you're playing for everybody, for everything. You're playing for that. I mean, I keep saying the word legacy, which is my daughter's name.
Yeah, it's dope.
You're playing for that. You're playing because you're representing his legacy and everything that he's done. So if you're going to put that jersey on, like you better be serious. So we understood early, just based on Coach Van Os's, like his intensity in practice, his preparation, and just what was demanded from us as players. Like we knew early on that, I did a whole bunch of coaching at Queen Elizabeth Secondary later on, but I would have guys come, "Oh, coach, sorry, I can't make it. I have a science test tomorrow." "Oh, sorry, coach, I can't make it. I have a dentist appointment." But we knew early on, especially in grade 10, that like a science test isn't an excuse to miss a basketball practice, because it comes down to time management. You should have been studying for that test. You should have been preparing for that test. And then also understanding, okay, you have practice here, you got, maybe some weights here, and then you have to go back and study for the test again. So you have enough time in the day. It's about what you want to prioritize. And we sort of policed each other. Like we knew when guys would come into the tryouts, or guys would, be put on the team, like this guy's not going to last. This guy's always missing practices. This guy's he's not focused. And like clockwork, those guys would just drop off. They were just not built to be part of that team. And then also, they didn't really fit in. Like that sort of I don't want to call it like a lazy attitude, but that's sort of like that passive, I'll just show up when I feel like, I'll compete when I feel like we didn't F with those guys at all. It's like, bro, like if we're going to be competing on the same level, if we're going to be going out and have that same objective, which is to win games and get better as a team, and you're going to hold us back because you don't want to come to practice, or you got excuse after excuse, or you're always quote unquote injured, then we're just not, we're not going to get along. And we didn't need Coach Van Os or Coach Chambers to tell us that. We just sort of knew who the guys were and who the guys were not. Right. And you know exactly how that is, playing at Terry Fox. So that year, like we had a very successful year, my grade 12 year. And, actually tell you a funny story. At the end of the season, actually during that season, grade 10, there was a bunch of teams, like 10, 12, 15 teams that were like really, really good, that could have won the BC. There was us, there was Pitt Meadows, there was Richmond, Walnut Grove, Dover Bay, was Trumpy and those guys. So there were a ton of teams. I think you're going to have to check with Taylor on this, but I think we played Seaquam in the, and they had like Chris Johal, Mike Kim at that time. We played them in the Fraser Valley finals that year, and we lost.
Seaquam.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Seaquam. I'm pretty sure it was Seaquam.
Okay.
Again, we'll have to fact check later on, but I think I'm right about this one. And so we played Seaquam in that final, and we lost. But just by making the final, obviously we qualified for the BCs. So after the game, guys were upset in the locker room. There's some few tears going around. And we're like, you know what? We'll get them at the BCs. Chambers comes into the locker room. Mind you, he wasn't coaching us that year. I think Coach Prinster comes into the locker room. Van Os is there, and they're talking to us, and they say, "Hey guys, it was a great season, and we're gonna be preparing for next season." And we're like, "Yeah, but what about the BCs?" They're like, "We're not gonna be going to the BCs." And we were like, "Excuse me?" Because that's like the holy grail. Like you play all year to get to the BCs, because that's the one that really counts. The Fraser Valley, you cut an L in the Fraser Valley. Okay,
Sure.
It hurts, but let's prepare for the big dance. And they came into the locker room, and out of nowhere, they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to the BCs. We don't think that the grade 10 BCs really mean anything. We really want to prepare you guys for next year. So we're bypassing the invite." And guys were choked. I was just like, "Bro, are they serious?"
Yeah, because it's invitational, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's invitational. And they said, "Yeah, we're not going." But so in that same speech, like, okay, we're not going to be going to the BC, and I'll never forget this. They said, Steve Crump, Taylor, Dean Whalen, and our big guy, Carl Rowinski. You four, we want you guys to come on Monday, because we're going to pull you guys up to the senior team. So you guys are going to go with the senior team. You're going to train during, Hell Week, and you guys will be at the BCs at the Agrodome. And I looked to my right, looked to my left. I'm like, Steve, Taylor, Dean, Carl. I said, what about Emmy? And I just kept quiet. I'm like, they didn't. Like, I'm not invited? So what I did was, I said, okay, cool. I just kept quiet. Monday morning, I got up at like 6:30, whatever time the practice was, and I was the first one in the gym. I just said, they're not going to notice that they didn't call me. If I just show up and I compete and I sort of earn my spot, then what difference is it going to make? They're not going to be like, "Hey, we didn't tell you to come here, like, go home." So I just said, in my mind, I'm like, I think I deserve to be there, so I'm just going to show up. So I showed up on Monday, and I was in fantastic shape. And I was just like, if my memory serves me correctly, I just remember thinking, I'm here to kill everybody, if I can use that word. Like, I'm here to, like, I was so upset because I felt I deserved to at least be chosen to come and compete and, play at the BC. So I showed up. I didn't say anything. I just showed up. I grabbed as many rebounds as I could. I blocked as many shots as I could. I competed.
They didn't say anything to you?
No, they didn't say anything. I think they thought that they had invited me, but I'll never forget it, because
take advantage of old age, huh?
Exactly. They did not invite me, but I said I deserve to be here. So I showed up, and at the end of the week, when it was time to get ready for the BCs, they gave me a jersey. I was like, sweet, I'm on the team. So that was my first experience at the Agrodome. And
I can tell you right now that I'm on not to cut you off, on the coaching side now, they always roast Fox, because like they bring, like that, what they'll do now at the BCs, I think you get 15 roster spots.
Yeah.
Like 20 passes, right? Between coaches, managers, players. And
Yep.
and then anything else you have to pay for now. But Fox always brings like 12 dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like if you bring like a whole nother team.
So that's probably why they didn't notice me. But I made it. Then I was there. I was on the bench, and I remember I was I think in one of the games, one of the few games there, I was like the sixth man off the bench. I remember there was one game I was the first one off the bench. I got fouled, and I shot 2 free throws against we played Van College.
No way.
So I remember, and I went 2 for 2 from the line, grabbed a couple rebounds, and I remember that game especially because I think Jamie Schultz was on that team. That was his grade 12 year, and also Jazz Mander. So that was Jazz's grade 12 year as well.
Nice.
And I remember playing against Van College, and they had a really stocky guard at the time. His name was Nolan. Do you remember him? Nolan Lambaha. I remember him.
No.
And the only reason I remember him is because I forgot someone was shooting a free throw, and I was lined up. I was the bottom block, right?
Yeah.
And so they shoot the free throw, and they missed it. And I was like, okay, I was like 6'4" at the time. I was tall, I was athletic, and he's about like 5'10".
Yeah.
And I remember he just put his forearm on me, right?
Yeah.
Completely moved me out the way and just grabbed the rebound and finished. And then I thought to myself, okay, so this is what senior basketball is about.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is. I think that, okay, I got the jersey, I'm here, I'm at the BCs, at least I'm able to compete. But it was a whole different ball game in terms of strength, athleticism, preparation, even mentally. So I learned that from that one moment, that free throw. Okay, I need to get stronger. I need to get in the gym. I need to work out, right? I need to actually lift some weights and put some size on if I really want to compete at the senior level next year. So it's just weird little anecdotal stories like that, and little instances that just sort of stick out in my mind because it shaped, some of my decision making. It shaped my approach in terms of how, I wanted to, play the game of basketball and like the sort of player that I wanted to be, So yeah, I got a lot of these little funny memories that come back now that we're having a discussion.
And that's exactly why they do it though, right? Is so that, when you're in grade 11, it's still a big deal. You make the BCs or whatever, but it's not your first time, right? Even if you're grade 10 and they pull you up, you're at least on the bench for 4 games, watching, shooting layups, warm-ups. You may not get in, but you're at least experiencing the whole thing, the banquet, whatever it is, the routine of everything. So there was some method to the madness in the sense that all they wanted was young guys to just be more prepared, right? I think because now that they have the opportunity, it used to just be grade 11, 12. Right. And so now they're like, okay, well, with a high school that's 9 to 12, let's take advantage and bring these kids up and give them some exposure. And just like that, one moment for you, the light clicks on, you're like, oh, it's just a little guard that just pushed me out of the way. I got some, and just sort of, and those that were willing to do the work and put it in would be ready to go, So put it in, pause.
Pause.
I had to mute because my wife came down and made a freaking protein shake. Did you hear it?
No, I didn't. It was
okay. Good.
No, I saw her just sort of walk in the background.
Yeah, man. I'm
it's
like,
all good, man.
Yeah, life.
I get a smoothie every morning for my wife. It's delicious. So shout out to your wife for taking care of your health. Is this smoothie for you at least? My bad. Never mind, man.
Yeah. It would have been nice, right?
It would have been.
Yeah, man. Okay, grade 11, 12. Fun, good rivalry. It's funny. You know what, Mike? Since Coach Goulet has been passed, him and I, he's reached out about the podcast, and he actually came to one of our games last year. We played out in Maple Ridge for the playoffs. So it's super cool, man. Like I just love how the game works. But talk about those rivalry games and all those moments, and sort of like, it's hard to deal with, and still, even when I brought it up, it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
we played a team. We played Port Alberni at the BCs this year. We lost first
Mm-hmm.
round. We got upset to JY Jordan Hughes team, and we played them the next round. they hadn't been to the BCs in like 21 years.
Wow.
Right. And I'm like, so that's what you got to think, right? Is like you're playing for a program where it's like, it's the standard is to make the provincials, to make it and win first round, finish top 8 and make a run if you can kind of thing. Right. Whereas some programs, it's like a celebration just to even qualify, so
Right.
it doesn't make it any easier, but
No, yeah. I mean, we knew going into our grade 11 year that there was, I don't want to call it the pressure, but there was that sort of unspoken pressure that like Terry Fox, we just go to the BC. That's just our thing. Like no matter what ranking that we have going in, Terry Fox is going to be at the Agrodome, right? And there's no real discussion about that.
Yeah.
Unlucky for me and the guys that I came in with, and my group of grade 11s. Our grade 11 year was the first year in I don't know how long it was that we didn't qualify for the BCs. And I still feel we didn't qualify for the BCs. So that was like the grade 12 year for like Bryce McDonald, Jim Martin, like Neil Morrison, those guys that I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was on that team? I think Tomek Pajak. Remember Tomek? Yep. That's my guy. So we actually didn't qualify for the BCs that year. In the Fraser Valleys, we lost our first game. And I want to say we lost that to, I think it was White Rock Christian or Fleetwood Park, one of the two. Again, the encyclopedia when it comes to high school basketball will be Taylor. He knows all this stuff. So we lost our first game. We lost our first game going in, and it was too difficult for us to recover.
Yeah.
I think we had to win like 3 in a row or 4 in a row. We just couldn't do it. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken, but I think I might be correct in this as well. That was the year that Centennial made their run to the finals. Remember that? They had Mike Leslie and there was another small guard on that
Lamar
team.
Durant?
No, that was I don't even know who Lamar Durant is, to be honest.
No?
Maybe no, I don't. Who's that?
He was a stud athlete.
Really?
He was running back, basketball guy. Ended up. Yeah, you're right. He might be a little bit older.
Younger. Okay.
Sorry, younger.
But I was saying that that Centennial team, they lost their first game at the Fraser Valleys that year as well. Yeah. And then they won an insane run. They won out the rest of the tournament. I think they won the Fraser Valleys that year, and then they went straight to the finals at the BCs. And I think they lost to White Rock Christian that year.
We're talking 99?
That was 99. So that's when Chad Clifford was the MVP of the province.
Yeah, it says
Am I right?
1998 was the 5th title for the Richmond Colts as they beat Vancouver College in the finals. Then in 99, we saw the emergence of Scott Allen's White Rock Christian Warriors as they won 72-62 over Centennial. See?
Over Centennial. Yeah, exactly. And that was Chad Clifford's MVP year. Correct. In my opinion, like he was Chad's only a year older than me. Yeah. And I coached a year at Drive Basketball with those guys back in the day. Yeah. I don't talk with him very often, but I see him every now and then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was an amazing player. He was my teammate at SFU as well. But I remember when he was in high school, I was just like, bro, this guy I just thought he played so hard and he competed at such a high level. And anyways, it's just a side note. I really like watching Chad Clifford play high school. And they had a really good team. They had a fantastic team that year as well. But we were watching from the sidelines, right? We didn't get to go down to the Agrodome to play. We went down there to watch. And I remember watching those games, and I just said, we have to make it here next year. Like we will make it here next year. Like there's no debate about that. I remember that last game because we had to win out after losing our first game at the Fraser Valleys. Again, I forgot who we lost to that last game. I think it actually was Centennial. Yeah. I think we were supposed to beat them. If we had won, then I think we would have been able to get through. But I remember being in the locker room after that game, and guys are devastated. Guys are like in tears. Guys are sobbing. And I'm in the back there. I'm like, I'm all sad. I'm all teary-eyed and stuff. And these little anecdotal moments, I'll never forget. Rich Chambers comes into the locker room, and he's cussing up a storm. He's like, you MFers. I'll never forget. He says, you guys don't deserve to cry. Like, why are you crying? Like, did you guys compete like to the highest degree as hard as you can? Did you guys take whoever that first opponent was? Did you guys take them for granted? Like, do you guys really deserve to be in the position to be so upset with yourself as if you put in all of the effort, you prepared properly, you took everybody seriously when you were playing? And I thought about that as he was saying it. I was like, dang, man, he's in between in between tears and boogers going everywhere. I was still upset, but I was just like, man, he's right. Like, we feel sorry for ourselves now because we put ourselves in that position. And I said to myself, we're not doing this again next year. We're not doing this again next year. Next year, A, we're winning the Fraser Valleys. And then B, next year, we're winning the BCs. And then that was it. And that was just understood going into that off season. I remember that off season. So after that little episode where he said, hey, you guys don't deserve to cry. This is the end of our grade 11 year. Unfortunately for the grade 12s, that was the end of their high school career, the end of their basketball careers for some of them. Yeah. I remember that next morning, 6:15, I was at Terry Fox and I was in the weight room because I need to get stronger. And I worked out, and that was when I really, really started taking like lifting weights and training like very, very seriously. And I'm still, 180 pounds when I graduated high school. But I remember Coach Van Oss, after a few months, he's like, hey, Em, you got muscles in your eyebrows. I was like, okay, cool, thanks. But I think that was his way of being like, hey, like, I see you. Yeah. Like, you're working out, you're doing what we're asking, and you're taking this seriously. And, we're going to be prepared when our number is called and when it's time. So that off season was a serious off season. Now, again, this is before club basketball. There's no AAU. There's nothing. It's just like if you got the homies, you call each other up on your house phone, right? Hey, can I speak with? Hey, is Taylor there? Can I speak with Taylor? 2 lines or 1 line? Right? We had one phone number. Yeah, I never got the call waiting, man. My parents always, and then they would complain about the phone ringing all day. I'm like, well, when I'm talking to one person, someone's getting a busy signal. And then someone's getting another busy, like, we can get 2 lines. They're like, we're not paying for that. Yeah. All right. No, I think we ended up getting the call waiting at some point. But that's how it was. If you wanted to get better, you have to call up the homies, be like, hey, we're going to meet here or meet there. So that summer, I mean, even from the first day that Taylor and I met back in grade 9, like either like every weekend or at least even during the school week, 3 or 4 times a week, he would either come to my place and we would go to George Perks and we would shoot hoops, or we would stay late at Fox and get some shots up, or I would just hop on the bus. I think it was like the 169 bus from Coquitlam Center, and I would go straight to New West Station, stop at New West Station or Columbia, and I would walk up the hill to his house because he lived in New West. Yeah, and we would go shoot hoops for literally hours until the lights came on over at Queens Park. Yes, sir. That's literally how I got better at basketball throughout high school. It's just that Taylor and I would be training, playing. We would do all the hoop it ups. Like, we went on a serious hoop it up run. Every summer we'd be playing 3-on-3, myself, Taylor, and James White. And that's literally just how we got better. But we sustained that pretty much all through high school. So going into grade 12, we knew we had an opportunity to make some noise, at least in the Fraser Valley, but we were also thinking like we are going to win the BCs. So going into that summer, going into our grade 12 year, that's when the new Terry Fox had opened. So we were going to be the first graduating group from the new building of the new campus. So I remember that summer when we had team camp, and we had all of these teams that we ended up competing with several times in tournaments at the Legal Beagle, at the BCs, at Fraser Valleys. Carson Graham was there, Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge. All the usual suspects that we had serious rivalries and competitive games with. They were there during the team camp. And I remember Brent Charlton, who's to this day is one of my dearest friends. Shout out to Brent, who was retired as SFU's all-time leading scorer. Yes, sir. But recent in grade basketball 10, 11, BC Hall of Fame, I believe. Hall of Famer. So you gotta put the Hall of Fame. Shoe game is tight.
You know,
his shoe game is actually immaculate. I think it's always been a competition. Yeah. Oh yeah, Brent Charlton. He's a fantastic dude. He's one of my favorite guys.
I feel like he's leaning in on that Fred Winters plug, though. You know, don't be so selfish, man. There's a dude in South Van who needs some size 13s, boys. Come on, right?
Yeah.
Stuff look, come on.
we can give him a call for this
sidebar.
But but no, even the story I'm telling is still a bit of a sidebar itself. But it was team camp, and it was held at Terry Fox at the new campus in a brand new gym, and I had my sights set on top camper. That was what I wanted. I'm not sure if I got it. I think I might have, but I'm not too sure. Mm-hmm. But I was competing at a very, very high level all week. And, you have like the one-on-one ladder throughout the week. So I made it to the one-on-one finals. Keep in mind, Don Van Os, Rich Chambers, my coaches, the coaches who coach me, are running the camp, right? Yeah. And it's at Terry Fox. I didn't need, home cooking or like a home bias. I just thought that, if we're here at Terry Fox, things might swing in my favor. So we're playing this one-on-one game, and it's a tie game. Again, I will never forget this. Brent and I talk about this because I tell him he owes me a pair of shoes. So during that one-on-one game, he has the ball, and he says, okay, check it out. So he passes it to me. I check it up, right? I pass it back to him, and then Coach Van Os was like, he blows a whistle or he says something. Brent completely ignores it. He sweeps right past me because I'm like, yeah, coach. He sweeps the ball, goes past me, boom, 2-hand dunk, game. And I'm just like, bro, what are we doing? Like, he just called it. He blew the whistle. And Brent's like, I don't care. Let's game, man. Let's game. And Rich Chambers and Van Os were like, yeah, I guess so. And they gave him like the one-on-one championship. I was, can I say pissed? I was.
Yeah, no home cooking for you, dog.
Bro, I was pissed. But what that told me, again, like, I honestly feel like there's little lessons in everything. Mm-hmm. For me, at the time, I was thinking, yeah, I wanted that trophy, which was the shoes. I wanted those shoes because that said, hey, you're the top one-on-one player. You're the best. I use that term loosely, but you're the best one-on-one player at this camp at this time.
Yep.
Right. I wanted that recognition. But then I also started thinking about, later on, I still want the shoes from Brent, but I was thinking, like, those coaches really emphasize big picture, right? This is summertime, right? Yeah. You do want to get better in the summer. Yeah. And that's how you sort of, cut your teeth and, and sharpen your skills. But like our team goal, this is called team camp. This is not called Emmy camp. This is not called one-on-one camp. This is team camp, right? We want to get better as a team. If you get the one-on-one championship, great. Here's your shoes. Congratulations. Like, what do you want? Do you want a pair of shoes or do you want to go win the BCs? Like, which one is it? Yeah. So it's sort of put things in perspective after, because it's like, yeah, that would have been great, but our eye is always on a bigger prize. That's like the Terry Fox, the Terry Fox way. So I learned that the hard way. I was still upset about it, but there's other goals that we set as a team which are way more important than a one-on-one championship. Like, there was no question that I was competitive, and there was no question that those coaches were happy with my efforts and what I brought to the camp and what I brought to the team. And I think it took me a few days, but I realized that they were happy with my trajectory in terms of the type of competitor that I was and like how focused I was on winning the BCs that year. Yeah,
of course, man. And they saw your motor. I mean, anybody that saw you play, that was like never ending, right? Fitness was never an issue. Effort was never an issue. Like, guarding, just taking care of all the tangibles was never an issue with you. And they knew that. And it's true. You're like 16 years old, right? It's like you kind of get caught up in this thing where you think like all-stars and MVPs matter. But in a game like basketball, if you don't have 10 or 12 other dudes there to support you, that doesn't mean much, right? Like it's hard at that age to really grasp that because we're, when we're 16, 17, we're not intentionally, but we are kind of selfish. There's a lot about us, right? Because we're dealing with so many other things. So,
right.
And how good was that team camp too? Is like, those guys, Goulet, they were ahead of their times in terms of putting all that together.
Yeah.
I was just snickering. You were talking about like spring leagues and things like that and kind of club, which is, it's good. But like, we don't even do spring league anymore with our guys because I'd say a third of our guys do track and field, which is amazing. Want them to do that. We have rugby sevens now. So a couple kids will play rugby, which is great too. I want them to play other sports. And then all our hooper kids, the minute basketball season's over, they're playing with their club. So we'd be driving all the way out to Heritage Woods or Fox, and we'd have like 4 guys. So I'm pulling like grade 8s. I'm like tapping kids on the shoulder to come play. And I was like, this is just not worth it. Like they're just almost too busy, right? Whereas that purity of hopping on the bus, or I'll meet you at the rec center, or let's go to the night court and shoot. That purity is getting lost a little bit without sounding like a real old head. I feel like just that everything is very structured and sort of let's put on the jerseys. Now, maybe not that structured when they start playing, but the purity of what basketball can bring, right? And those moments and memories, which you've touched on a few times. Just wish more of those kids would have that. Also, rambling after my coffee, but like a safer world. And, like, I mean, our parents were like, come home when you're hungry,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Whereas now it's like tracking on the iPhone. Where are you? Text me when you get there. Like, so that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a totally different way of growing up. There's no real, hey, let's just go play outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, growing up during those times, like I said, growing up in Vancouver, like you were, like your buddies' parents were your parents. Like they saw you messing around.
Facts.
Right. If you were outside when you should be, hey, Emmy, it's time for you to go home. Like your mom just called me, like, get home. Like, oh, shoot, my bad. So there was that like sort of like community accountability.
Like, yo, you got to go home. You've been here all day, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like get out of my house. Like your mom is calling you. It's time to eat. Right. But those parents were almost like secondary parents to mine.
Right.
In a sense. And you had sort of like the same respect and reverence for those cousins and buddies and uncles and aunties, who sort of, it was their responsibility to take care of you. And it was unspoken, but it was like, it really was a community. Yeah. But like you said, like the whole landscape of high school basketball has completely changed. Like there's no denying that.
Sure.
Like back in the day, it was like high school was like the pinnacle of, like high school competition was like the pinnacle of basketball, at least in the province. Right. And it was at the time, I guess it was just basketball BC. But, now there's, I mean, I'm sure basketball BC is still doing its thing, but there's hundreds of clubs now, Yeah. Maybe they're not doing their thing. I don't know. I've been out of the loop for a while, but there's so many different clubs. And again, there's, sometimes you have to really, I think the club system can be good for some players, right? In terms of exposure and, the amount of, I mean, I think sometimes they might play too many games, but they do play a lot of games and it does open up some opportunities. But my only concern with like the whole club culture is like the intent of some of the people who are running these clubs, right? Is it to literally just make $1 off anybody? Or is it really about developing good basketball players, good young men, good young women? Is it about really like the love of the game and the passion of the game? Or do you just look at that person as like, as a dollar sign? They're going to pay, X amount of money and we're going to play this many games. We're going to go on this circuit. I'm going to tell their parents who might not know that much about basketball that, oh yeah, this is the Div 1 kid. Like Div 1 back in the day was not a given. But now with some clubs, it seems as though they're leading with that. Oh yeah, we've sent this person to Div 1. We sent this person to Div 1. If your kid comes to this program, he or she can be Div 1. But it's like, first of all, do people understand how hard it is to play Div 1 basketball? Like it is extremely, like at a good school, let's say, right? It's extremely difficult to be a good player at a reputable Div 1 program, right? Yeah. And I feel, these days, like staying home and playing for a great program in province isn't like the attractive choice or the option. It's like, if this coach says he can get me to the States or to Div 1, that's where I'm going. And then you might end up going there and, they sort of flip the script on you and you're not developing as well as you should, or you're not really learning the fundamentals on the game. Sometimes it's just run and gun. You just play zone defense all day. You don't know how to guard, your great grandma, and it's shout out to great grandmas who hoop, but I'm just saying some of them might not. But, yeah, so that, I think that's just part of the the culture now. And I think now the whole point, I'm just saying this as an outsider, right? I'm not necessarily coaching. I'm not coaching high school basketball anymore.
Yep.
I'm not coaching club basketball anymore. These are just observations that I make. But there are some fantastic club programs out there that are doing the right things and doing it the right way. I'll give a quick shout out to Taylor doing Rain City basketball.
Yes,
we
sir.
can get into that later. But, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But he's doing a fantastic job with that program for sure.
If you're a basketball player out there in the Lower Mainland or BC in general, and you're looking for somewhere to play, we have a proud sponsor, and that's PGC Hoops. You can find them at pgchoops.ca. And the thing that makes them unique and that we're proud to sponsor them and them be a sponsor of us is it's a true nonprofit basketball organization found in the east side of Vancouver. The mission is cost-effective elite basketball for all. Find the website, take a look, register your kids, register yourself, look for the programs. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and we can contact you with the right people. This is a good program for the right reasons. We appreciate you, PGC Basketball. Yeah, it's about relationships and then good intent. I think you're not saying anything that anybody's not already, you're not crossing any lines with that. I think it's, are the people who are advertising these clubs the ones in the gym with the whistle too? If a parent asks me, I don't put names out there. I just say, is the person who's talking to you about all these things, are they also putting the work in? Are they coaching your son or daughter on the weekends? Are they at the practices? Right. So it's complicated, but there's lots to it. We've never had more people playing the game. But you're right. Once money's on the table, it can change some things sometimes, and it makes it uncomfortable. Think about like your dad you mentioned, right? Like was just happy to go to games and cheer you on. A family who's just like working hard to scrape by and do their thing. And then some coach is like, oh, we really think Emmy could like play at blah, blah, blah. And he should da-da-da. And knowing your parents, your dad would probably have more of a brain power to not get caught, but who knows, right? Like, oh yeah, let's look at, okay, we're going to ship them off to Indiana and whatever. I don't know. There's a lot to it for sure.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. But I mean, it also entails the things like that you get to be a part of, right? Like junior NBA and global basketball. Like the game is so big now. There's so many great things they're coming from it, right? And exactly. You're experiencing it on a daily basis. You're experiencing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back a bit to, like you said, in terms of like the club basketball, like those team camps and all those other opportunities that like Coach Chambers and Ben Oss and you mentioned Coach Goulet, rest in peace. Those guys were, I mean, for the most part, they were volunteering their time, right? They just love being in the gym. They love seeing guys get better. And they had like the formula. They had whatever it is. They had it, right? And they were able to relay that message, that attitude, that approach, that passion for preparation and getting better and being a good teammate onto guys like myself, Taylor, Dean Whalen, Steve Crump, Brody Anderson, all those guys. And it's rare that you see those types of coaches and programs these days. So
and we're talking
I feel very,
like,
very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine like an out of town team, like maybe there's Vernon or someone had a solid program and some coaches bring down the 15 van and sleeping in a classroom with these kids for a week, in the middle of summer, sleeping in Goulet's French classroom with the tables against the walls and like showering in the PE change rooms and just giving up a week away from family and friends is just different. Now, another issue is like now you need a stack of liability papers just to friggin' drive a kid somewhere, which is also kind of messed up too, right? So
yeah, I feel you on that. Definitely.
Yeah, man. Man. Okay, so like jump over to like SFU. The ball continues. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about 2000 or what the memories are there, we
can talk about it very, very quickly. The thing is that game, it's not that it haunts me because I don't think it haunts me. I think I grew a lot from that game.
Of course.
I learned a lot of lessons that game. For those who don't know what we're talking about, we lost in the BCs to Pitt Meadows. and the score was 74-68. If you want to look it up, I guarantee you I'm right. And it was in overtime. The reason I'll never forget that score. Just because if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything. But like, that's one game that I really, really wanted to win, right? That's the goal that we set out from grade 10 after being told that we're not taking the invite to go to the grade 10 BCs. And then, the disappointment in grade 11. So by the time we got to grade 12, we were literally one game short. And speaking of that rivalry with Pitt Meadows, we actually beat them, 2 weeks prior in the Fraser Valley final.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the Fraser Valley champs that year. And we played them a total of 7 times in that school year. And we won 4 of them, right? But we lost the one that really, truly mattered the most. And that was a very, very competitive game. It was an amazing game. I was extremely nervous before the game. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, dang, like this is really it. Like if we win this game, then our Terry Fox group, like we're not the back-to-back Terry Fox teams, but we're sort of in the conversation as one of those better Terry Fox teams historically, right?
Sure.
Growing up in grade 9 and 10, like, Coach Van Oss would talk about like Vic Rigor, those type of guys. Obviously, he talked about Terry Fox. He talked about, Dave Morgan and his crew and Brett Anderson and that group that went back to back. And we just really wanted to be somewhat close to that conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think that game, if we got that final game, that sort of would have put us in the conversation. And we'd be in the discussion, Mm-hmm. Maybe not the greatest Terry Fox team of all time, but we would still be, we'd be in discussion. So not winning that game and coming that close, it still kind of hurts, to be honest. I really wish we could have had that game. But like I said, I learned a lot from that game. That game went into overtime. And I think what I learned from that game is Aaron Christensen, who ended up being my roommate for 2 years at SFU, and we were teammates for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was the MVP that year, and he had fouled out with about 4.5 minutes left in that game. Mm-hmm. And we were up, I think, about 7 or 8 points. So, we were getting close to the finish line. And I don't want to say that guys sort of took their foot off the gas, but like the second that he went out of the game, when he fouled out, that Pitt Meadows team, it is hard not to.
Well, because Aaron was such a big part of that team too, right? I mean, he was such a good player, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was the best player on that team, but they had guys on that team that truly knew their role. Like that team was tailored around Aaron Christensen and his leadership and his skill set. But they had their point guard, Brian Robinson. He was a fantastic player. We talked about Mike Elaine earlier. I thought he was way more skilled than people actually gave him credit for. Mm-hmm. And he was literally one of the strongest people I'd ever played against at that age. They had a big guy, Shane Cool, and another guy, Mark Ardron. And they had like a really good group of guys around Aaron. So I think in our mind, even subconsciously, we thought, okay, we kind of slayed the dragon. Aaron is out. It's time for us to, take this thing home.
Yeah. So
instead of like really doubling down and, truly going after it, I just think subconsciously, because physically, I think we were still giving our best effort. But we sort of just felt that, okay, like we're so close to the goal. We're so close to the finish line, 3 or 4 more minutes. But, they went on a serious run and they ended up tying it at the end. We had a chance to win it. Dean Whalen had a pretty clean look from about 15, and that is like his bread and butter. Like, Dean Whalen went on to play University of Alberta. He's one of the best shooters. Like him and Taylor were literally 2 of the best shooters, not that I've just played with, but I've ever been around.
Sure.
And unfortunately, he missed that. It was a gimme. Like those 15 to 18 foot jumpers were layups for him, but it sort of rimmed out. We took it to overtime, which is not what we wanted to do. But they were able to pull ahead, and they ended up winning by 6 points, unfortunately. And the worst thing about that, aside from losing the game, is how they do. Like if you lose that game, you got to stick around. You can't just get up and go. You got to stick around. You got to watch the whole ceremony. for $1
All-star
million.
teams, like, yeah.
Yeah, the all-star team, all of that. For $1 million, I couldn't tell you where that second place medal is. I think I gave it to my mom in tears, and she's like, "Oh, I'll save this for you." I was like, "No, I haven't seen it." And yeah, that was a bit of a tough experience. But then again, it drives you, man, because like, okay, if we didn't get this one, then I got to get the next one. And if I can't get that one, then I got to get the next one. And then, I knew early on, even around that time, like I would apply all these sports lessons to life, And I'm sure we'll get into it pretty soon, but even just moving out here to the desert, there was a lot of uncertainty. You take a few L's here and there, but like taking that L is not the end it's not the end, right?
No.
You rally around that, and you prepare for the next opportunity, So anyways, yeah, that game was tough. We ended up losing that game. And that was the end of my high school career.
I said a little moment of silence there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
I
dog.
Yeah.
I was on the third. I was on the back. I was grade 12 on the back-to-back, man. We lost first round, like life's a trip,
Yeah. It's
Pete
tough.
Morgan breaks his foot. Ben Simmons has mono.
Right.
They box and won me. We lose first round. There goes the three-peat, and then we just murder three teams. We go 3-1 at the BCs, right? So it's like,
yeah,
it feels like it at the time, but you're right. If you don't use those things as opportunities to learn and grow, then you're doing it for the wrong reason, right? If you
exactly,
same with the victories, but the losses too. Like, yeah, you talked about it many times. Yeah, man. And then look, just look how funny he is. Like, next thing you know, Aaron's your roommate. Like, it's
sorry, not to cut you off. Not just Aaron, but also Brent Charlton.
Yeah,
he still owes me a pair of shoes. Like, he was. We came in. So me.
Like, I ain't
Aaron
grabbing either of you any rebounds until y'all,
We got to sort this out, man. So I actually ended up being roommates with Brent Charlton our third year. And then Aaron, he and I lived together for 2 years, our second and third year up in the townhouses. So it's funny how that all kind of came full circle. It was really, yeah. And those are still my guys to this day.
Yeah, man.
But,
And talk about those times up at SFU on the hill, right? Like, playing hoop, and looking at that one roster you guys had, I was like, damn, like you had Posh, you had Cliff,
we had Jordan
Mace,
Aaron Christensen, Brent Charlton,
man,
John Boateng,
Boateng too,
Sean Halverson, Pete Morgan was my teammate as well.
Was he your senior?
Yep. My first year. I'm not sure if we played 2 years together, but we definitely played the first year. And it's so funny too, because like when I think back on it now, like I was 17.
Yeah.
Right.
You think he's just this old dog?
He was like a grown man, but he was like 21.
Yeah. So
he was a kid, but like in my mind,
Yeah.
I just felt that he was just like a grown, mature, like an elder almost. Not saying that he was old. I just remember being like, man, like he's one of the OGs. But he was like a 21, 22-year-old kid. But yeah, it's funny how I ended up at SFU. We got time for the story?
100%.
Okay. So, I mean, the people who are really, really close to me, they've heard this story. I'm sure my sister will be like, oh, I can't believe you told this story again. But
sorry, sis.
I was not recruited by anybody. So a lot of people kind of take credit for how I ended up at SFU, but I was not recruited to play basketball by not one single coach. And this is after going to the BCs. During those BCs, I think I averaged like maybe like 13, 14 a game, something like that. Some putbacks and, mini jumpers, that sort of thing. I probably averaged about, no word of a lie, probably like 16, 17 rebounds. I was just killing it, 4 or 5 blocks a game. And then not one team, like Douglas College, Coquitlam at the time, nobody said, hey,
weird, man,
we want you to come play. But like everybody else on my team, they were all getting like multiple offers, like Steve Taylor, Dean Whalen, Carl Rowinski, and a few other guys. And I was just like, are these like, am I really? And it sort of took me back to grade 10. Remember the story I told you when I was in grade 10? Where they said, hey, you, and you, we want you to come up and play senior. And I was just like, okay, cool. I said, okay, if this is how it's going to be, I'm going to figure this out, because I am a college level or university level basketball player. I just felt that in my heart and in my mind, and I felt that I put in the work to at least be recruited by somebody, anybody. But like no one came. So the funny part about that is my grade 12 year, I actually decided to play football, right? So I played football for Terry Fox as well. And the reason I played my grade 12 year is because in grade 11, like I went to training camp in the summer. I lasted like one day. I got hit too hard. I was like, this is not for me. Took off the pads. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not a football player. But at the end of grade 11, I went back to the football team and they allowed me to come back because I just honestly just wanted to know what it felt like to score a touchdown. I don't know why. I just had that itch. I'm like, man, I wonder what it feels like to score a touchdown. If I score a touchdown, like, do I have like a touchdown celebration? So I went back and Coach McDonald allowed me to come back to the team. So I played the last 2 games.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So we played one game. We were at North Delta. And I remember going out there. I didn't know football. I don't know the rules. I didn't really know much about it. They put me at wide receiver. They're like, hey, this is like the pattern tree. This is a post. This is a go route. This is a slant, whatever. And it's all, by numbers. Run a 3, run a 7, run a 9, catch the ball. I said, cool. So I don't know if you remember, I think at the time our quarterback was Morgan Crowley. He played basketball too.
Okay.
And we were playing at North Delta. And I ran like a long pattern, like, I don't know, like a 25-yard, 30. And it was just a bomb. And I got past the DB and the ball's coming. I turned to catch it and the ball went right through both of my hands. I was like, damn. And it was like wide open. I was like, oh, shoot, that's embarrassing. So they pulled me out. 2 games later, and it was the last game of the season, the same thing happened, right? I was running down. I think maybe I got nervous or whatever, ran straight past the DB. I'm like, okay, it's time to score a touchdown. I'm going to know what it feels like. And I completely missed it, like just right through my hands. And I'm like, I can catch. I catch it. Like, I know how to catch. So after that grade 11 experience, I'm like, you know what? I have to play grade 12 football because I don't want these coaches and these players thinking that Emmy can't catch. Yeah. So I'm going to go next year. I'm going to play football. And when football finishes, I'm going to join basketball. So I remember I went to the summer practice. I got hit hard. And I was like, nope, I gotta get past that. Get past that, that real, those type of football guys who just love just smashing their, like, that was just not me. I just wanted to score some touchdowns, get a few nice catches, and then let the linebackers do their thing, let the running backs do their thing. I just want to score some touchdowns. So during that summer, we had a couple scrimmages, like in team scrimmages, and had, I scored a couple touchdowns like in the scrimmages at Terry Fox Field. But I'm like, okay, this is cool, but it's not the same. I got to score a touchdown in the game.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is a long way of telling you why I was recruited or not recruited to play basketball at any school. So that first game, we go over to Town Center and we play Pine Tree. The first play of the season was that exact same play. I ran a post and I caught the ball. First catch, first play. It was like a 60-something yard touchdown. And that was the beginning of my, like, pretty successful 1 year of senior boys football. I ended up leading the province in yards. I think I ended up leading the province in touchdowns. And I think I had like a 50 or 60% like touchdown to catch ratio. So like every second catch I had was a touchdown. Yeah. So, I mean, I would have to go back and check. This is back in the day with the VHS, but I think I ended up having like 16 or 17, 18 touchdowns that year. And I was recognized like on the provincial team. So I got invited to like the Senior Bowl, like the East-West Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
I was on like the Senior Bowl, like the BC team. I went to Winnipeg to compete in like some championship. And there was an all-star team, which we played at UBC. And I was like the offensive MVP. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. But I think that's kind of what hurt my recruitment process for basketball, because all these coaches all of a sudden thought that I was a football player. But in my mind, I'm like, no, guys, like don't get it twisted. Like, I'm a hooper. Like I want to play basketball.
Yeah.
But I was getting recruited by SFU heavy for football and football only. And I was recruited by a couple schools in the States. It wasn't like full ride offers, like half scholarships. And it was actually a couple like half scholarship, like Division I offers. And I was just kind of like, okay, this is cool. But I mean, a half scholarship still means you still got to pay half. That's a lot of money. I ain't trying to do that. And in my mind, I'm like, how have I convinced all these guys that like, A, that I really love football, because I didn't really love it, and B, that I'm actually as good as they're telling me that I am. Like, none of this made any sense. I just want to hoop. So I was getting recruited by Ottawa, McGill, every Canadian university to play football, but I really wanted to stay home and play basketball, or go anywhere and play basketball. So I was literally one day away from signing my letter of intent or my scholarship offer with UBC for football only. So I got to that point where I was convinced that, okay, basketball I might not get recruited to play, but I'm going to end up playing basketball for somebody somehow. Because I felt that, okay, if I accept this scholarship offer to go to UBC, then I can, go to like an open tryout for basketball and just sort of swindle my way into the basketball team, just like I did in grade 10, just like I've done before. Right? Yeah. If someone sort of cracks the door open, I'll kick it open, and I'll be there, and I'll do what I need to do. Right? I'm gonna make it very difficult for them to be like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. So I remember the starting quarterback for UBC. They took me to a Vancouver Grizzlies game against the Orlando Magic. I sat courtside, and that was like my little recruiting visit. So after that, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, you can take me to a basketball game. You guys have done your research. Great. I'm going to sign. I verbally committed to UBC. So I went home that night, ended up getting a call from the SFU football coach. And he's like, hey, I've heard that you're planning on going to UBC. I'm like, yeah, this is, the best opportunity for me, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for the offer. He's like, well, if I talked with Scott Clark, who was my coach at SFU, like, if I have a word with Scott Clark and he gives you a spot on the basketball team, would you consider coming to SFU, playing football and basketball? I said, if you do that for me, I will come. The next day, Scott Clark calls me on the phone. He's like, hey, and Scott Clark has known me since grade 9. So I was kind of pissed off. I'm like, bro, like, you've known me since I was like 14. Like, how have you not recruited me to come play? But, Scott Clark's on his phone was like, hey, he used to call me Manny. Hey, Manny, I heard that you're going to be coming to SFU to play football and this and that. I said, well, no, I'm actually on my way to UBC to play football. He's like, well, if you change your mind and you ended up coming to SFU, I got a jersey for you. I said, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I got a jersey from you. I said, okay, cool. He sent the scholarship offer like a few hours later. I signed it. And that's how I ended up being a basketball player at SFU. Sorry for the long story, but that's exactly what happened. And I was just like, I was supposed to play college basketball. It wasn't, I appreciated the opportunity to play college football and have scholarship, in school paid for and all that sort of stuff. I ended up playing 3 years of both, right? I played football and basketball for 3 seasons until I broke my knee. We can get into that later too. When my football career ended after my 3rd year, it was funny too, because I was getting a little bit of interest from some CFL teams. So there were some scouts from Hamilton that were coming to the practices, because I think after your 3rd year, you're eligible for the Canadian CFL draft. Okay. So some of those teams were coming out. Saskatchewan was coming out. I had some conversations with some of the BC Lions representatives, and I was just like, Bill, do you guys really think I'm like football, like a real football player? Because like, I wasn't really built and bred like some of those, those real, those football players who live and breathe third down. Like, that's everything to them. Man. It just wasn't for me. I just wanted to score some touchdowns and then just chill and hopefully we win the game. Don't
even think about putting me on the other side of the ball.
No. But in high school, I played everything.
That's what they would have done too, right? They would have evaluated you and like, oh, you're a corner.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or you're a defensive end, or you're a tight end because you're 6'4", and you got hands.
And we want you to put on 30 pounds of muscle. Yeah.
Right. No. I was not. First of all, I haven't even put on 30 pounds since like high school. I'm pretty
Only
much
in your eyebrows, apparently.
Just in my eyebrows, exactly. So even putting on 30 pounds wouldn't have been possible. Playing tight end or defensive end and I'm like, no, this is not for me. Like, I liked football. I liked certain aspects of football, but no, it was not for me. Basketball is where my heart truly was and is.
That's a good
But
story
yeah,
to share,
that's
though, man. I know as you thought it was long, but I think like if a young person, because we had a couple kids. We got one kid who's going to UNBC this year to play, and we had our point guards going to a prep. But I know it was frustrating for him in terms of recruitment, and I was kind of like, and no knock on anyone, but I find it weird. I find the recruiting process weird, and I don't understand why coaches just don't commit. Like when you see someone who loves a sport like the way our point guard does, or you love basketball, is like, and they're a good person, they're good academically, like they're not going to be a concern. You ask their coaches, oh, he's a good teammate. Like, I don't know. So it's good for people to hear that, that it's not if it's not Division 1, it's probably a pretty rough process because you're almost
right.
selling yourself more than you need to, but that's just how it is. And you got to keep sticking to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was actually happy that SFU had recruited me, even though it was kind of like a secondhand recruiting process, but I was cool with it. I'm over it.
But what it means is, though, but it doesn't mean like Clark's not taking that phone call from just a football guy. The first call he's making is to Rich and Don, right? And he's going, "Hey, I've seen him. Tell me." And they're putting their name on the line for you, right? So it's not like it's like, "Oh, okay, we'll do this so we can get him." It's like someone out there had to validate to get you there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
And I definitely appreciate, just how they prepared me for, not just playing at SFU, but also for that recruitment process, how it all went, right?
Yeah.
It didn't go the way that it's not that I anticipated, but it's just, it didn't go the way that, when it started happening, how I would have preferred, I didn't need people saying, "Hey, we love you," just stroking your ego. I didn't need any of that. I just thought that I thought that I was a college basketball player, and I thought that coaches would have recognized that. But even if they didn't, that's still, like, I played. I mean, you know how I played. I just played with the chip on my shoulder at all times, because I always just thought, I'm like, there is going to be, even if it's one person that says, "Okay, yeah, he's okay," but whatever. Like, I didn't want to be that afterthought or that whatever player. I always felt that at any level that I played at, I deserved to play at that level. Because I put in the work to play at that level, and I thought I actually had the skills and the the tangibles and intangibles to play at that level. But not everyone recognizes that, and it's fine. But and again, for me, it's not the end of the world. I just felt, okay, if you don't see it now, you'll eventually see it, and I was cool with that. I just wanted the opportunity. So when that opportunity came to attend SFU and be on that campus and be part of the basketball team, I just said, okay, the rest will sort of take care of itself. And then, again, like you said, we had great teams there. We didn't have as much team success as I hoped that we would. But, the guys that I played with there, I talked about Aaron, I talked about Brent, especially, and guys like John Boateng, like literally my best friends to this day. Like when I'm back home in Vancouver, our kids play together. We chat every so often. And these are like lifelong friends. And I learned so much from these guys during my SFU time as well. I learned from them as they all became, husbands and fathers before I did. And I used to watch them from afar and just sort of see how they operate, how they treat their partners, their wives, their families, how they treat their kids and those sort of things. And I'm like, these are some like life skills and life lessons that even as 18, 19-year-old teammates, like John put me on game back in the day. Like he was older than me, and he would literally teach me like everything. We were roommates and we were teammates, and he was, a year and a bit older than me. But I'm like, I learned so much from him in terms of how to prepare, how to approach the game. He showed me a different level of competing. He and I would, on the weekends, back in the day when we played, it was CIS. I think it was CIS at the time. CIS at the time. We would play Friday, Saturday. He and I would be in the gym Sundays, every Sunday, right? Saturday night after the game, win or lose, you'd, have a few beers here and there, you'd party a bit, on campus. But every Sunday, regardless, we would be in the gym. And we would train. We had our own little routine. We had like a little dunk routine, and we had our little routine where we would get up shots, about 400 or 500 shots, and we would play 1-on-1 or we would play 2-on-2 against whoever was in the gym. So like for us, and then we would work on our skills during the week, and also academically. Like he was also very, very bright academically. So I learned how to prepare academically, because, my first semester was a freaking disaster. I was on academic probation. I had no real guidance. I think I took a math course my first year, and I was not a math guy. So I didn't really have any true guidance in terms of like my course selection. So I was on academic probation my first year, and I was just like scared to death. I'm like, am I really going to flunk out? But, I relied on guys like John and some of the older guys just to sort of help me navigate how to study, how to organize my time management, those things. And then every semester from the day I started at SFU, my GPA went up every single semester. And I think I ended up with like a 3.8 by the time I was done. But I just remember, thinking back now, like, again, we didn't have the sort of team success like on the floor. Like we actually never qualified for nationals. We never went to the nationals.
Yeah.
And we had like with Pastor Baines, we used to say like we were like he was Kobe and we were the Lakers. And we had the players, we had the personnel, but we just couldn't put it together as a team for whatever reason. But in spite of all the team success that we didn't achieve, again, like these are lifelong friends, lifelong like brothers that I could call today, even if we don't talk for months.
Yeah.
Because we've been through, difficult times together, and we've been through challenging times on the court, off the court. You remember in what year was that? That must have been 2002 when John Boateng, he broke his neck.
Yeah.
Right? On campus. And I remember going to visit him in the hospital the next day. He and I were roommates when that happened. We threw a party that night, and there was an accident on like hope he doesn't mind me talking about this. I'm sure he's cool with it. He just pretty much fell a flight of stairs and like landed on the top of his head and broke like a couple of vertebrae in his neck. And he ended up going to the hospital the next day. The ambulance came and took him away. So we went to visit him at the hospital, and he was already in like the neck brace and he couldn't move. And I remember seeing him. I completely broke down. I was so upset. I was literally sobbing, like trying to hold him and stuff. He's like, bro, he's like, hey. And he like hits me in the chest. He's like, hey, cut it out. He's like, I'm going to be fine. Right. We got a season to finish. Stay focused. Like, if you need anything to play for me. I'm going to be fine. You guys got it. And I was just like, bro, what? No, it's not fine. Your neck is broken.
Yeah.
You want me to go hoop? Like, how can you actually have this glass half full attitude when you're laying in that hospital bed and we're not sure what this surgery is going to be like the next day?
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna how is this gonna affect your day to day going from past this surgery? But for him, and again, like I say, I learned a lot of life lessons from these guys. From him, it was like, okay, yeah, a broken neck is an L. It definitely is. But these doctors have said, hey, this is the best treatment for it. This is the best procedure. This is what your rehab is going to look like. This is what you need to do in order to get back to that level of competitive basketball. If you're willing to do that, cool. So in his mind, it was convinced. Like he knew what he had to do. But for me, I was just like, how does someone bounce back from that? But I learned that it's possible to bounce back from that just by observing him and his approach and his focus. And so watching him go through his rehab, it was just like, bro, like I do not envy that process at all. But the ironic part about that is that watching him go through that process and, what we did as roommates, because who was living with us at the time? It was myself, Aaron Christensen, and our big guy's name was Mike Clyde. So we were literally taking care of John, right? Like he couldn't take a proper shower. So we had to like draw a bath, like help him into the shower, do all those things, like help him with his books. We used to like link arms, and I would walk him to campus because he was wearing like the halo with the, Yeah. So we had that whole thing. So the way we rallied around him as teammates, like I said, like on the floor, off the floor, regardless of, team success, wins or losses, like we had committed to being a team, right? And that applied to all facets of life. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. That is what it's all about. And you don't forget those moments. Like you might forget like the score of a game or if you won this regional game or championship or how many points you scored here and there, but you don't forget those moments that really bring you together as young men, just trying to figure out what life is, you know?
For sure.
Yeah. So I remember a lot of those really finite or those details about, you know, a lot of the off the court things that we experienced together as teammates.
No doubt. That's the growth, man. It's true. You're nailing it.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so I want to touch on a couple of things before we talk about what you're doing these days, and then we'll have some fun questions and tuck you in, man, because they're going to be knocking on, they're going to be tapping on Daddy's forehead before you know it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he definitely will.
Yeah. Okay, so Vancouver, what are they called?
It was the BC Titans. I think BC at the time, Titans? And then
yeah,
I think we changed to Vancouver. Or I think it was Vancouver Titans first, and then BC Titans after. One of the two.
Okay. And then also, like, what makes you think that you still can step on the court at 35 and play some pro ball too, you crazy man?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, like, I've always felt that if my mind is okay and if I'm physically healthy, then I can play, you know? Just to sort of finish.
What do you mean by your mind is okay? Like, what do you mean by that?
Not like if I have like the proper mindset, like I could put in the time to focus, I can do what it needs to do in terms of mentally preparing to play at a high level.
Yeah.
Then I'm definitely for it. Going back a little bit.
Is that always a big part for you? Not to cut you. Is that always a big part for you? Sort of just like, or is it because you're like longer in the tooth? You're like, you know yourself, Emmy, you can't do things half-assed, so you better be ready to like do it. Or is that's
exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like if I know that I can commit fully and play at a extremely high level and commit my time, my efforts, my diet, my preparation, my sleep, because I don't know how to do it like halfway, you know? And I understand what that means for me, and I understand what that means for, you know, people around you. Like if I'm in that type of mind frame, I'm like, okay, it's time to compete. And it's time to play and it's time to prepare. So if I'm willing to put in that work, then sure. But leading up to the Titans, I'm going to go back just a little bit, just a quick story in terms of just preparing. The summer after my first year at SFU was, there was an opportunity for the Team BC. So I never played any provincial teams.
U19.
So I played the U19. That was the first time I was. And I wasn't even invited to that tryout either. It was actually Taylor. He'd called me, and I was just finishing like spring for spring football camp. And he called me. He's like, "Hey man, are you coming today?" I said, "Coming or tomorrow?" I'm like, "Coming to what?" He's like, "Bro, like there's the U19 Team BC tryouts." I was like, "Oh." He's like, "It's Canada Games here." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Bro, you got to come." And I said, "Okay, cool." I'm like, "Where's the tryouts?" He's like, "I think it was at Terry Fox because Rich Chambers was the coach." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I think I can make that team." So I just showed up the next day. I went to the tryout. I was in good shape at the time. And that summer, I'll finish this story quickly because I know you want to move on. But that summer was probably some of the best basketball I've ever played in my life. And that summer sort of not solidified, but told me that, okay, you know what? I think I'm getting better at basketball. And some of the peers that I played with who I sort of, you know, like Brent Charlton's and Aaron Christensen's and, you know, Logan Kitteringham from Walnut Grove, Chris Trumpy, those guys, Jeremy McCullough, Dean Whalen, Tim Perchik, those are the Chris Porteous, those are the guys that were on that team.
Yeah.
And
squad.
I started on that team. I started that whole summer. And I was thinking, I'm like, dang, like I'm a starter. Because I remember before the first game we played, he's like, okay, it's the starting lineup. You, and Emmy, you're starting at the 5. I was just like, oh, dang, like, cool. Like I sort of belong now. Anyways, fast forward, we ended up losing in the
gold medal,
the national final to the gold medal game to Quebec. So yeah, that one hurt. So I lost, you know, the BCs in one year, and then the following year I lost the gold medal game. So it was a tough year.
Was anybody good on that Quebec team? Must have been some studs. I don't remember.
Yeah, probably, but I couldn't tell you any of the names.
You can't remember.
No, I don't know. I don't remember. But I do remember
Once again,
the
Taylor
girls
will
team.
know.
Yeah, Taylor will know. You can ask him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a serious squad. Yeah, we had a serious squad.
Yeah, those are some names.
Yeah, those are some serious names. So we were really, really good. And then shout out to I think 2 or 3 guests ago, you had Danny Langford on the podcast.
Yeah.
And she was their women's team, or that was U19. So I guess we're men and women at that time.
Yeah.
They won the gold medal in that tournament, and their team was insane. They were really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they won the gold medal that game. They had Danny, they had Devin Campbell, Julie Wilson, and one of the coldest hoopers who was also a Hoops Journey alumni she was Kim Smith at the time.
Oh yeah.
I think that's her maiden name. She was
unreal, right?
She was bad. Oh my goodness. She was so good at basketball. I remember watching her play during that whole summer. I was like, okay, this girl's serious. And then she ended up, doing her thing. Anyways.
Yeah.
I'm rambling a bit, but yeah, a lot of good memories from those times. And then if we fast forward a little bit, so for the Titans, I was teaching at the time. So this was 2009, and I was teaching at Queen Elizabeth in Surrey. You remember those days?
Of course.
So I was coaching and I was teaching, and I'm not sure what happened. One of my I was teaching PE at the time. One of my coworkers showed me an email. They're like, "Hey, did you hear that there's a pro team coming to Vancouver or coming to BC?" I was like, "No."
Was Brian Tate your principal?
No, Brian Tate was he was in the PE department.
Oh, he was. Okay, so it wasn't admin yet.
So I think he was the department head at the time.
Gotcha.
So I think I taught with him for just 1 year. That was I went there like 06, the fall of 06 to Queen Elizabeth, and I think he was gone by 07 or 08, one of the two. But yeah, they showed me the email. They're like, "Yeah, this is the Vancouver Titans. This is the International Basketball League, and there's an open tryout." Again, this is the same thing, like the same theme of my basketball life is just, if there's an opportunity and I see it, I've never really been invited to play on any team that I've actually made and had some type of impact on. But I just feel maybe they just forgot the invite and I'm meant to be there. So they showed me this email and I said, "Oh, okay, this would be cool to play for." And I noticed that they said that, Rich Chambers is going to be the coach. So I looked at the email. They're like, I said, "Okay, I think I could play at this level." I hadn't played since I graduated. I finished at SFU in pretty much 05, 06-ish. I was playing men's league at the time, the Surrey, the Guildford men's league. So I said, okay, I got about 2 weeks. Let me get in shape. So I was running like 5K a day because I was teaching PE and we would run like a 5K route. So I would be running with the kids for like 2.5 weeks straight. And I was getting on the bike. I wasn't eating trash at all. I was just eating healthy. And just mentally preparing for this tryout, because I said, okay, when I get to this tryout, there's going to be a lot of guys there, and this is, you can call it semi-pro, but it's still professional basketball. Guys are there to get paid, and guys are there for a job. But I said to myself, I don't care who's coming to this tryout. I'm going there to kill everybody. That was my mindset. So I remember that the tryout was up at SFU, and Coach Chambers, he was there running the tryout, and a few other people who were on the coaching staff. I don't really remember who was there, but it was a 2-day tryout and I was in impeccable shape. So I just remember I shot the ball pretty well. I was rebounding the ball. I was blocking shots, doing what I did at that point. I'm not really that type of player anymore. I don't really go past the 3-point line. Now it's just 3-pointers all day.
Yeah, why not?
But, I did what sort of got me to that level for those tryouts. So I played well that first year. I was an honorable mention All-Star for the IBL. We didn't win many games, but it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, what was it like?
Dave, it was cool. So I was teaching during the day, and then I would play at night. I was living in Cloverdale at the time, and we would practice at the Legling Event Center.
Oh, perfect.
So that was our practice gym, and that was also our where we played the games. So it was kind of cool because they did a whole bunch of promo and marketing and that sort of stuff to really build the league and build some excitement out there in the Fraser Valley. So they knew I was a teacher. So we brought the entire Vancouver Titans team to Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And we played like a little pickup game against some of the kids, and we put like a little dunk show. And next thing you know, I'm signing autographs for kids in my PE class. I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing? Like, you can get this tomorrow at any time," But it was kind of cool just to sort of compete at that level. We had games down in Portland, Bellevue, Edmonton. We put, and there were some good players in that league, and it was a really fun atmosphere. Just teaching during the day and then playing pro basketball at night, and then doing it all over again. So it was a really cool year. Dave Petruzzello was the head coach that first year. Yeah. I really like playing. I really like playing for him. He's a pretty intense coach as well, but I always felt that his intensity and his competitive nature was always directed in the right place. I felt that he cared about winning, but he also cared about players. So I really enjoyed playing for him. The second year I played again, and Scott Allen was the coach. We had a bit more success in the wins and losses column. But yeah, we ended up losing, I think, in the first or second round of the playoffs, something like that. But and then the team folded after that. So it was a cool experience to play some pro basketball, and that was 2009, 2010 at the time. So yeah, I guess I was, I don't know, like 26, 27, something like that.
Whatever you're doing right now, listening at work, rolling in your whip, going for a walk, whatever it is, hang on for a sec. You like jerseys? You like stance socks? You like throwback? You like shoes? You like anything related to basketball? Hit up ATOB Ball. And if you're not able to be there in store at Langley Event Center, check them out on the web, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. Give us a mention and you'll never know. Shout out to our boy Jeff. ATOB Ball for life. It's cool to hear that, because the CEBL has been such a positive out here in Canada, right? Like, it's been so good, and just the Bandits right now, win-loss, they're not probably having the season that they want, and it's probably a super grind to get guys in, because a lot of them, it's their off season and they're looking for bigger contracts or whatever. But just the way, I went to the home opener, and man, it was packed. It was packed.
Right.
Yeah. And they've got like an Indo DJ out front, and then Demi is doing dunks, and they've got prizes, and it was very well done. Right. And so I think to think about where that was kind of the foundation. Then when the conversation came up, it was we got to have a Vancouver franchise. So it's cool, man. Very cool. And it's really, really good to see what the CEBL is doing, implementing the U Sport guys, right? Letting them get an opportunity, which is cool. So yeah, man, I mean, the games come, you're not old, but the games come a long way in the time, seriously, it's true, man.
No, it definitely has. And it's cool to see those opportunities for guys. Cause when we finished at SFU, it was kind of what's next? Yeah. There's only a handful of us who are going to go play pro anywhere. Yeah. But those opportunities at home were definitely not there. So it's cool to see that these opportunities are now available for guys.
And speaking of opportunities, your hoops journey is buck wild. Touched on so many different things, from player teacher. It's usually teacher coach, but just talk a little bit about your role now, and sort of how that came around, how you were able to. Did you show up for something you weren't invited to again? If you did, then I'm ending the show. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the role, so how I ended up here now, I'll try to give you the quick version, but it is another interesting story. So I moved out here to Abu Dhabi, to UAE in 2015. After teaching at Queen Elizabeth for almost 10 years. I was there for 9 years. You know how it is. Long, hey? Yeah, I was there from 2006 to 2015 at the same school.
Maybe you are that old. Maybe you are that old.
40. I'm turning 41 in December. I don't think it's old, but it's,
I'm 45.
That's not old either, man. You're good. You're good. Don't worry what they say. You're good.
Thank you.
No worries, man.
There's a reason we're doing the podcast AM my time, though, because there's no way I could be up right now, 10:40.
Yeah, it's all right.
Being as engaging as you are.
Yeah, well, I'll get my sleep. I work from home, so I'll get some rest tonight. Hopefully, those kids let me sleep. They're usually pretty good. But where was I? Where we're talking about.
You taught for 9-10 years, and then you ended up in the desert.
Yeah. So I ended up at the desert, and the reason I moved out here because you've been teaching for for a couple of decades now, right? Are you in year 20, 19? Yeah.
Just finished 19, yeah.
Amazing, man. Congrats.
Thanks.
So you know exactly how it is in terms of like the job action that happens, at least in the public school. So we were going on strike, which felt like every other year.
Yeah.
So by 2015, there was more job action, and teachers are crossing picket lines. Some are saying work to rule. Some are saying we're going to be doing things as normal. Some are saying we're not doing anything at all. So there's no real unity in between, among the teachers. The government just sort of waits things out. They offer you some nonsense contract, and teachers are like, oh,
divides
nothing.
Everything, man.
Yeah, and you just go back and you do the same thing over again, and until it's the next strike.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2015, I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm just going to go teach in Dubai. The reason I ended up out here is because when I ended up graduating from SFU, we had some family friends who lived out here, and they suggesting that I move out here in like 2006, but I had no clue what it was. I was like, no, I'm not ready for that. Anyways, so so I came out here. So I've been teaching high school at a local school here for I did 3 years in a small area called Al Ain, and then which is part of Abu Dhabi, the Emirate. And then I did 3 years there, and then I was teaching English at a local school. And then I ended up moving to Dubai in 2018. And I was working at a international American school teaching PE. So the last school that I just finished at, which was, I guess, about a year ago. So the quick story is I got hired there along with about 30 other teachers. We're like the new wave of teachers that came into that school. Okay. Around Christmas time, the school director who had hired about 30 of us, she abruptly just left the school. It turns out that the school management, which is owned by like local companies, local families, that sort of thing. It's not like BC where you have like your union and people who can represent you. They can just, if it's a 2-year contract and they want to end it after one, they'll just end it after one. They'll pay you out and then that's it.
Yeah.
So after that, after the school director who'd hired us, she left. We found out that she left because school management wanted her to pretty much fire the group of 30 of us that she had just brought in. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So she sort of, took the fall and she left. But in the weeks following that, which was right after Christmas, they brought in a new director, and his job was literally just to bring people into the office and just one by one cancel their contracts. Right. So they were, that's pretty much how it went. So I'd been here for, this is my, 6.5 years, 7 years. And you sort of know that. That's just sort of like the climate out here. Like there's no real pensions for teachers and different things like that. So you come out here at your own risk, but there are way more benefits than negatives of living out here and working out here. That's for sure. So I just want to make that clear. Mm-hmm. But so this was January, and people were getting emails. So you would check your email, and if you got like the email, it was like Judgment Day. You would go to the office, meet the new school director, and he would just tell people, hey, this is the deal. We're going to be moving on from your contract. We'll pay you out. And then come July, good luck. You're on your own. So January 28th.
They give reasons? So just like they want a shift in culture, or just no.
Exactly. Damn. They just, It's a shift in culture. It's new management. It's just how it is. Good luck. We'll write you an NOC letter and, all the best. So for me, on January 28th of, I guess, 2022, last year, I got a message on LinkedIn. And I typically don't check LinkedIn, but, whenever I had a new job or if I was playing for a new pro team, I would just update that and, let that ride out. But I'm not posting on there or nothing.
Same here.
I got a message from, right? So I got a message from a recruiter from London. She's like, hi, Emmanuel. I'm just checking out your profile. I think you would be a great candidate for this position. One of my clients is the NBA, and she put yes, the NBA. And the position is the basketball operations manager based in Abu Dhabi. If you're interested in the position, send me an email. We can get on Zoom. I was like, this has to be a joke, right? So exactly. So I show my wife. I'm like, is this for real?
I'm checking my LinkedIn right now.
Exactly. Right. So I'm a big advocate for LinkedIn. People update your LinkedIn. You never know. So I go on Google. I check out the lady's name. I check out her company. Everything comes back clean. So this is January 28th. Yeah. January 29th. On the 29th, I met with her on Zoom. She's like, you know what? I think this would be great. I think you would be fantastic for the position. I'm going to forward your CV. I'm going to forward your application. That was January 29th. February 2nd, I got the email. I got called into the office and they essentially let me go. So they said, you're going to finish your contract up until July. We'll pay you your 2-month bonus salary, this and that. We'll pay out your severance, and then, hey, good luck. And I said, okay, cool. And the director was like, do you have any questions? Do you want to know? I said, no, it's fine. Because in my mind, 3 days before, when I got the next one, it's on to the next. And this is like the league. I said, it's all good because my mind is focused on the NBA. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to put myself in position for them to offer me this basketball operations manager position. So I was like, it's cool. If you guys want to let me go, you're essentially paying me to leave anyways, because I'm getting this job. And I didn't tell anybody. Yeah. I told my wife, I think I told my brother, I think I told maybe 2 people throughout the entire interview, throughout the whole interview. The whole interview process was about 3.5, almost 4 months. It was, I did about 6.5, 7 interviews. So basically from February until like mid-May, after all those interviews, meeting with this person, that person, this person in London, this person in Madrid, this person at the New York office, they offered me the position. And I was very happy about it.
That's insane, man.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Vic Gregor just messaged me on LinkedIn today. Swear to God.
Oh, really? See, we're talking about him. He's a Chatterbox legend.
He added me as a follower, and then said, "Hey, love to chat in person at some point."
Unreal.
Because he made me check my LinkedIn, man.
There we go.
No job offers to become a full-time podcaster for the NBA, but that's okay. You can work on that for me.
That'd be amazing, man. Yeah, I'll do my best. That would be fantastic.
That's crazy, though.
I'll try to wrap this up real quick. The story. So they offered me the position, and then I started I just completed my first year in the NBA. So I started July 4th. So I finished my teaching contract July 1st. Yeah, thank you, man. I finished on July 1st, and then July 4th, I was in London doing my training for this position. So in between jobs, I literally had 2 days off. But I was like, this is like literally the opportunity of a lifetime. And to be honest, like, I loved being in education. I mean, I feel like I had a really, really big impact on dozens, if not hundreds of kids.
Thousands.
And they're thousands, and their
kids probably loved you, man. Some of those QE kids need a guy like you too, man. No doubt. Yeah,
I still get some messages on Instagram or emails or even some WhatsApp from some kids I used to coach and teach, and they're like, you know what? I loved, and these kids are like 32, 33, 34, and you still have that impact on them. So I did love being in education, and it was an invaluable part of my life and part of in my career. But even 2 or 3 years prior to transitioning out of education, I was already feeling that itch. And I was like, I think it's time for me to move on, do something different, because I just felt I'd done everything that I'd set out to accomplish in education. I didn't really have any interest in, administration and things like that. So prior to COVID, 2019, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? I couldn't really figure it out. I knew
it is, sorry to cut you off. It is the challenge in education too, is like,
for sure,
is like kind of, I've tried the admin thing, didn't really like it. And I always tell my wife, like, listen to my conversations. And if you hear like, I need change, let's have the conversation. But I think there are some things you can change, but I think it also depends on school, like where you're at, admin, how much they support you. So for sure, I don't think you're alone in that. And I think it's good to have that ability to reflect and go, you know what? I'm not giving the quality, or I'm not going to be giving the quality that I know I can, because my heart's not as much into it. Whereas I think a lot of teachers stick it out for too long.
Yeah.
Right. And still do things from 20 years ago and enjoy their holidays. Whereas we're talking about the future, right? So not to get all deep, but not many people can do that.
No, I absolutely agree. I agree with you. And that's sort of how I was feeling, at the time. Again, I enjoy teaching. I like teaching. Man. Yeah.
Then you get a LinkedIn, like what? Like they're reading your mind.
Yeah. But I was trying to, figure out my way to transition from education. And so prior to COVID in 2019, I enrolled at a school here. It's pretty much like the equivalent of like a Sprott Shaw, like a community college type thing. But I took a course I took a 1-year diploma in sports management.
Man
because I
said
felt if I
Spot
still want
Shot.
to work, yeah.
It's that damn
I don't know what
commercial.
they have these days.
Because of the damn
Yeah.
commercial, man.
Scott
Spot
Shaw
Shot
Community
Community
College from
since
1903.
1903.
Yeah, man. So that was
Hey,
essentially
shout
like
out to
the
Spot Shot,
equivalent, I
man. They've
think,
done something right
for
with their
sure.
marketing, man. If
Absolutely.
you can still,
You remember you still know the jingle, man. Come
yeah,
on.
man.
Yeah. But yeah, so I
Sorry.
took, yeah, no, it's all good, man. So I took the sports management course because, like, okay, if I take this course, I don't know where it's going to take me. I just know that if there's an opportunity to work in sports, this
Open the
will
door.
open the door. So I think taking that course without NBA anywhere near the radar, I thought that would sort of put me in a position that, if there's, I was going online, I was looking at NBA, I was like, maybe there might be an opportunity. I was looking at jobs with FIBA, anything. And I remember around the time, this is when the BAL came out to the Basketball Africa League. And I was telling, my wife, and I was like, and some homies, I'm like, yo, this is really, really close to Abu Dhabi. I gotta work in the Basketball Africa League. I gotta figure out, I'm gonna get to the league somehow. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna get there somehow. And then they also announced, this is prior to the whole LinkedIn thing.
Yeah.
They announced that the NBA was coming to Abu Dhabi with the Junior NBA League and all this stuff. I was like, oh, dang. So the NBA is coming to Abu Dhabi. Man, I got to get to the NBA somehow. I'm going to figure it out. And then they ended up, coming to me a few months later. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you. I feel I was prepared because, but these are things that were instilled in me from high school.
Yeah.
Maybe even elementary school, just seeing how my dad operated, how my mom operated, and, just sort of the values and things that they instilled in us, not just in education, but in life, and just being prepared and showing up and being present, those sort of things. So I felt I feel I still do a pretty good job of that. And I feel that's sort of attracts, different energies and people and things and opportunities. So I think it has a little bit to do with that as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much
I would agree, man. I would agree 100%. I think being present, like those are things that you're lucky you had that foundation. Because a lot of those things that you listed off are parenting too, right? Kids feel energy, man. They feel how present you are. They feel if you're on your phone or not. And it's no different. It's no different if it's a 2.5-year-old or if it's a 50-year-old in the NBA, right? Like it's all connected, man. And so you've got some exciting things coming up though, right? Like isn't the NBA heading out there? And just talk a little bit about that before we see how you feel about ketchup chips or whatever.
Yeah, I'll let you know. So so my main responsibility as the basketball operations manager is I pretty much manage the junior NBA leagues for the whole Middle East. So we're going into our third year of the junior NBA league here in Abu Dhabi. I was part of season 2 and then upcoming season 3. I wasn't part of season 1. It was prior to my to getting hired. Okay. So that's essentially our grassroots basketball league for under 14s. We expand every single year. So season 1, we had 30 teams, boys and girls. Season 2, which we just completed, which I was managing out here in Abu Dhabi, we expanded to 60 teams.
Damn.
And that included a jump from 10 girls teams from season 1 to 30 girls teams to season 2.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's unbelievable the impact that that the NBA is having here in this region, because this is a football country, soccer country, soccer, jiu-jitsu, things like that. But it's slowly, with the efforts of the NBA and the people that I work with. I work with a fantastic team. And they're based in London and Madrid, and the leadership and guidance and teamwork, and just sort of how we operate a team makes my job, which is very, very busy and it can be challenging, but it makes it it's very worthwhile, and I really enjoy, for like the first time in a long time, like my job. It doesn't feel like a job. But yeah, so my main job is to organize and manage the junior NBA leagues in the Middle East. So from here, Qatar, Lebanon. I just came back from Israel not too long ago, or last week. And coming up in August, we have Team USA, who we're preparing for the World Cup, the FIBA World Cup, which is happening in the end of August. So we got Team USA, which is obviously, all NBA talent. We also have Greece, Germany, Lebanon, Mexico, and Egypt. So they're going to be here in Abu Dhabi in a few weeks, playing some friendly games as a warm up for the World Championships. Sorry, the World Cup. And then in October, we
So
have
smart by the NBA, like so smart.
Oh yeah,
like just to help.
They definitely know what they're.
Yeah,
they definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just building the game in the region. That's the whole point. Is just really trying to establish Abu Dhabi as like the center point of basketball, not just in the country but in the Middle East. So we're really starting here. This is going to be the epicenter, and we're just going to sort of fan out and slowly expand throughout the GCC region. But like I said, in October, which is when you got to get out here, we got Dallas and Minnesota, and this is the second year of the preseason games out here in Abu Dhabi. So they're going to play 2 preseason games on one on October 5th. Then the other one is on October 7th. So my job during that NBA week is to organize all the junior NBA events, and then support my my coworkers in the basketball operations department with some of their tasks, like if it's managing like Legends visits at the NBA store here at the Yachts Mall, or being part of the coaches clinics put on by some of the NBA coaches. Mm-hmm. We do social responsibility clinics, like with some underprivileged groups or like Special Olympics. And those are like, we'll have like the entire, like last year we had the entire Milwaukee Bucks roster part of that clinic. So that was like Giannis, Brook Lopez, all those guys that are right there. And we organize those clinics that those guys are a part of. So yeah, I end up, I could do at any point, like I could be ordering T-shirts and basketballs and sending them to Lebanon, or I can be, hosting Allen Iverson and Lisa Leslie at the NBA store and like interviewing them. I actually interviewed like Allen Iverson, which is crazy. Our comms department sent me an email like a week before. They're like, hey, by the way, we can't send anybody out there to Abu Dhabi. Allen, first name basis. Look at me. Yeah. And Lisa Leslie, they're going to be out there in the region. They're going to be like, can you organize the school visits for them and then organize their appearance at the NBA store? So I was like, yeah, sure. So I organized all that. And they said to me, hey, do you mind hosting the Q&A? We don't have, we don't have so-and-so who we can send out from London. Like, do you mind doing that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll check my schedule. But I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course I'll do it, So yeah, this job, it's a very dynamic position and it's very rewarding. And I've enjoyed every bit of it so far. And I'm looking forward to this coming year. I'm looking forward to August and looking forward to October, and then whatever happens, for the rest of this year and going into next year.
It's awesome, man. Just helping grow the game. That's so dope. Who's the coolest person you've met? Like just sort of laid back, kind of easy to chop it up with. Is there someone that stands out?
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny sometimes because you meet people that you've been watching since you were, in high school or, even as an adult. Like I have a picture on my Instagram with literally Shaquille O'Neal holding my daughter. She's crying the whole time.
She looks real happy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually like the real Shaq. But no, you meet some of those big names and those are really, really cool because you grow up watching them. But one person that really sticks out was actually Lisa Leslie. He was,
I was going to say, you're like, we're talking about Allen. I'm like, yo, Lisa Leslie though.
Yeah. At least for, our generation, she's she's like the GOAT of women's basketball, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And she has a real passion for the women's game and growing the game, not just in the States, but internationally. And she's just like a very nice, pleasant, down to earth. She's like a very elegant person. So when we did our Q&As and our school visits, she was very warm with the kids, answered all the questions, signed all the autographs. She did all that. So she's fantastic. I had some good conversations with T-Mac, Tracy McGrady.
Nice.
We ended up doing a desert safari with him. And my sister Joy was the main photographer for that project as well. Nice. And the October game. So imagine we're from Poco and then my sister and I are in the desert with Tracy McGrady doing the dune buggies. It's crazy, Yeah. But to sort of finish with that, another cool guy that I met is Ronny Turiaf. Played for the Lakers.
Yeah, of course.
Played for the Knicks. He's a Gonzaga guy. He's a great guy.
Like got good energy.
Yeah, he definitely does. He's one of our NBA ambassadors. So we have some players who have, retired in recent years, and we can call them to hey, we need, to make an appearance at a junior NBA event in Lebanon or in Abu Dhabi, and they'll come and, spend a few days here, talk with the kids, be part of some of the clinics and that sort of stuff. So it's really cool to really connect with some of these guys on a personal level. And they're really just regular dudes who are really, really good at basketball,
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're very, for the most part, I haven't really met any NBA legend or any NBA ambassador that I've worked with that has been, pretentious or arrogant or cocky.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do a really good job of selecting people who we know want to really give back to the game and sort of, have the attitude of it's going to sound corny, but the attitude of gratitude for for all the blessings that they've had and all the opportunities, and they really do a really amazing job of giving back to the game. So yeah, those people really stick out in my mind, and I'm really looking forward to meeting more within the next few months.
Love it, man. I can say 112 EPs, like there's been some crazy stories about contracts being signed or how people had jobs, and like the one that sticks out is like Scott Morrison at the Dole Whip station in Summer League or whatever. Like, but yours is up there though, man. That's wild. LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like, I literally just like reactivated my account like 6 months ago. Like, that's crazy. Yeah.
You never know, man. They have like active recruiters that just like comb that app, and they just look for like keywords and things like that. So you never know, man. Like, yeah. I don't know. It's just, it happened. It was supposed to happen, and it did happen.
100.
Yeah, it's I'm very, very grateful that it happened the way it did. So
love it.
Yeah, very happy about it.
Good stuff. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, man, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, you and 4 dudes on the blacktop. Who we got?
Okay, I was thinking about this question, and for me, like I've played with so many amazing teammates.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick to people that I know. I'm not going to say like I'm going to take MJ or this person, that person. Just former teammates or people that I know who I've, had fantastic on-court experiences with. I'm taking my brother, Tim.
Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. I love the way he plays. He plays with a real chip on his shoulder as well. And actually, shout out to Tim, because he's one of the few coaches who's taken high school teams to back-to-back championships at the BCs. And he won with that Kamloops team.
South Cam,
South Cam in 2018. So as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the best coaches in the province. But you can call me biased or not, but I'm definitely taking him on my team.
And he's doing his thing. Is he helping with Northern Bounce or whatever? With JY's
yeah,
thing?
So him
a little bit?
Yeah. So they have a chapter, I guess, or an extension of Northern Bounce in Kamloops. Yeah. So Tim and Sean Garvey are like the head coaches, managers, everything of the Kamloops branch of Northern Bounce. And again, those guys are doing a great job. We talked about club basketball before and people who are doing it the right way. These guys are definitely doing it the right way. So that's a shout out to Tim and Sean, and then also everything that JY built out there in Prince George. So yeah, for sure.
100%.
But yeah, so I'm taking Tim on my team. I'm taking Taylor, Cherish Wilding, because that's just my man. I honestly think he's the best point guard I've played with. And this is no disrespect to, some of the great guards I've played with.
Yeah.
He's also probably my favorite teammate that I've played with. Like, that dude has pretty much spoon-fed me when it comes to fast break. And we used to throw alley-oops off the backboard, like in game at Terry Fox. So you imagine how much that pissed off Chambers and Van Oss. But, he's a fantastic passer. You need that outside. He can shoot if you're playing on the blacktop, if it's windy down there at Kitts Beach. He's the best shooter I've ever played with, one of the best shooters I've ever seen. So I'm definitely taking, so I got Tim, I got Taylor, I got my man John Boateng. He's definitely on my team. He can defend both guard positions, and his tenacity offensively and defensively. And I just think he's a great dude. I consider him like, I don't have an older brother, but I really consider him like my real older brother. I'm also taking, and as my fourth, I'm taking my man BC, Brent Charlton.
This is a team, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. This is a really, really good team.
This is a good squad.
Yeah. Like, if you take this team to Kids Fest,
you're not getting the rock, though. Don't get it twisted. Ain't nobody.
that's okay. Like my outdoor game is okay, but like first of all, I don't even play outdoors anymore.
Yeah.
So I need guys. I need
like
guys
your
who
shins
can.
and knees. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I only got really one knee left. We didn't get into that, but yeah, we'll save that for another day. But yeah, yeah, that was 2003 at UBC. That was crazy. But yeah, that is a serious outdoor squad. You can take that to Kids Fest. You can take that to Dolphin. Those are my 4 guys.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might be on a different level here because you're in the desert or whatever, but you go like movie time or you got some time to yourself to have a snack. What kind of bag of chips are you grabbing? Maybe we could do the desert version and the Poco version.
Well, in terms of the desert version, they got some chips out here. They're essentially like equivalent to like barbecue chips back home, like the thin Lay's barbecue chips. I think the name of them, they're called Oman chips.
Okay.
So those are pretty good. I'll see if I can pack some for me when I come back home in December. Then I'll let you try them out.
Okay.
But lately we've just been buying the just like the Tostitos, like tortilla chip.
Yeah.
But it's the lime flavored ones.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Always
those are nice.
They leave a little film on your fingers too. Yeah.
They do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are dope. I really like those. And when my daughter likes those as well. I mean,
because you can go raw dog. You go straight up. They don't need salsa either. They've got enough.
Definitely do not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's so I'd say those Oman chips are really good. I'm only saying the Oman chips because that's like the best like local chip that I've tried, but I don't buy those often.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one, it would be those lime Tostitos. Those are my favorite right now.
I don't know if I like it. I like that pull. I like that.
Thanks, man.
Okay, best seat in the house, artist, dead or alive. I'm guessing you're going to have a few. What concert are we going to see if we get the choice?
That's a good question. And I know the answer. The answer for that would be, and people have said it before on the podcast because, like I said, I've listened to pretty much all of them. If I could go back, I would have made way more effort to go to a Michael Jackson show.
Sure.
For sure. Yeah. I know, a few guys have said that in recent episodes, but I remember back in 2009 when he passed, he had, I think it was like 50 shows or 70 shows at the O2 Arena in London. And then I think he passed away before those began. Like I was literally planning to, I'd never been to London yet at that time. So I was thinking, you know what?
You're going to go.
My last chance to see him. I was thinking, I got to find a way. I got to find a way to get to London to go to this Michael Jackson show. So I never got opportunity for that, obviously, but that would have been amazing. Obviously, you see his energy, his talent, his dancing, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, again, we grew up listening to his music, so yeah, I definitely would have loved to opportunity to see him perform live.
Is there anybody else? Is there like an artist from the home country that you listen to?
I mean, I am listening to. I mean, you do listen to like a ton of Afro beats out here for sure, and I love it. We'll take it way back. I remember you had is it Connor from UBC?
Yep.
And he puts you on Malik Berry.
Malik Berry, he did.
Yeah, I remember that episode. He's nice too.
Yeah.
But you'll see like a ton of Afrobeat artists coming out here to tons. Because they come from and they perform out here in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. So like, you got the regulars like Burna Boy and like DeVito. I've seen them both out here in, doing shows at local lounges and clubs and that sort of stuff.
Nice.
WizKid, all the main ones. I like to listen to Kenny. She's also a Nigerian performer. She's really, really funny. Her Instagram account is hilarious. My wife and I look at it every now and then and just laugh. Yeah. She's a character, so she's good.
Dope.
So I like to listen to my Afro beats, but you know me, like I'm a hip hop guy as well, hip hop and R&B dude. So you know how it is. You and I go back and forth on that all the time.
We do. The thread is long.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like who can one up their freestyle that they said.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't need words. You can just speak through music and memes, and you're good.
Yeah.
It speaks its own language.
It's true. Ketchup on macaroni.
Okay. Well, I need to preface this because I don't eat like I'm talking about KD, right? Macaroni and cheese KD. I used to eat it back in the day, but now I don't really eat too much dairy or, like processed stuff per se. But back in the day, back in college days and, the few years after college before moving out here, I was definitely a big fan of KD. And I would absolutely put ketchup on my KD, macaroni and cheese. I definitely did. And I am not mad at people. Yeah, I know. I feel that I can share. And I'm not mad at people who still do it. Like if I were to eat macaroni and cheese again today, like KD, I would put ketchup on it. I would.
Yeah.
I think it tastes great, to be honest. Like I'd rather have ketchup on it than just eat it plain. But I don't really eat macaroni and cheese.
That might say more about the product itself, Like
Yeah. I know you might be disappointed, but
no disappointment at all. It's your episode, not mine.
Yeah, I always find it hilarious when we get to this part and people share their opinion on macaroni and cheese, and then it always comes with a justification. Be like, hey, I always find that funny. This is usually my favorite part of the episode.
Who have been some of the most important people in your life? I mean, you've touched on a lot, but did you miss anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about my parents for sure, and then my siblings, my older sister Ruth, then my younger siblings, Joy, and then Tim. We're all very close as siblings, which, the older you get, you realize that's kind of rare. Siblings who are legit friends when they're in their 30s and early 40s. Sometimes, families have, every family has issues. Like we don't sit here and agree on everything all the time.
Sure.
But we've sort of made an agreement that we're always going to stay close and stay together and support each other. So so my immediate family, my siblings and my parents are definitely major contributors to any type of success that I've ever had in my life. And I definitely would not be here in this position, without them. More recently, obviously, like the family that I chose to create have been extremely, influential, an important piece of my life. And that starts with my wife, Steph. I met her here in Dubai a few years ago. And she's been fantastic in terms of not just as a spouse or a wife or a partner, but also as a mom. Like I used to ask her, I'm like, have you been a mom before? Like, how do you know just instinctually these things?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable just how like she's a very selfless person and she's just a very calm, classy person. And the great thing about her is that, I felt I made a fantastic choice in in choosing to walk up to her when I first saw her, and then I actually I pursued her because I'm like, this is a quality person. So shout out to me for recognizing that, and then shout out to her for doing that. Just for being herself. But it's great because she gets along fantastically, if that's a word, with my whole family. It's like she's very close with both of my sisters. And my parents. Like we Zoom every few days with the kids, and she's good friends with like even my group of friends, back home.
Nice.
Like we went for breakfast at Casey Archibald's place a couple of Christmases ago. So we've been able to have those sort of relationships with people who are close to me, and they've sort of welcomed her in as just family as well. So and then my kids, it's been, I get a little like emotional sometimes talking about these kids because it's like, when you wake up in the morning, like my day, like my objective is set. I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of, okay, this meeting, that meeting, I got to go to this place or that place, or I'm going to eat this, I'm going to work out at this point. But my objective is to make my kids, like their existence, their life. I want to teach them things, but I want to make it for them as comfortable as possible. I want them to understand that the reason that why we as parents, my wife and I, what we do what we're doing is for these kids, I wake up every day knowing that, okay, if I need to meet a deadline for a presentation, or if I need to travel to this country to do this or do this, or if I need to make sure that I'm budgeting properly, finances and all these different things, and spending enough time with my kids, taking them to the pool when I have like a 45-minute break, going to the pool or taking them to the park. These are the things that they're going to remember. These are the things that make waking up in the morning worth it, because that's what it's really all for. As it might sound cliche, but like, I love my kids, man, like a lot. And seeing them grow and seeing how, like, the type of things that we're trying to teach them, and just like their response to, if I go to Lebanon for 3 days and I come back and like Legacy is like, Dad, and she runs to me. I'm just like, bro, like, this happens now. Like, this gets to happen. Like, it's the best. So, my whole life goal is to make sure that I present the best. I try to be the best person for them and for my family, and I'm representing more than myself or the company or the NBA when I'm working, or if I'm traveling, or if I'm at a restaurant. How you treat people, different things like that, right? These are things that these kids pick up on. They're very perceptive. Again, sorry for the long answer, but
no, they're watching, man.
Yeah. Having kids and being in the position where I'm now as a father is the best thing that I've ever done in my life, and I'm not sure if I can top it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Church on a Wednesday, my friend. Church on a Wednesday. Let's go. I love it. It's true, man.
Yeah, man.
It is true, though. They're always watching. Like, sometimes Eli will bring something up, and me and Reagan are like, was he in the room when we were talking or doing? Like, he's just like, yeah. So true. Well said. Books or movies?
Thank you. I'm more of I should read more, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm a movie guy. Let's not even pretend.
Not kid related. What sticks out, or like what's in the pocket?
No, well, it's funny because I have like a real wide range of the type of movies that I like. Like, we grew up like on musicals, to be honest. I used to love watching musicals growing up.
Damn.
So yeah, I know. It sounds a little funny, a little weird.
That's awesome.
But, I used to love, like, I remember growing up and watching like Grease. Like, Grease was a cool movie back in the day, like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Another musical that we sort of grew up on was, my sister brought up the other day, like The Sound of Music. Like, I pretty much know all of those songs, like the whole soundtrack, and pretty much the dialogue, between characters, like, pretty much. You remember like Orphan Annie, like the redhead Orphan Annie?
Yep.
Yeah, like Daddy Warbucks. Like, I know that version, the Eileen Quinn version. I know that one. I think that came out in 1982, 87, something like that.
Let's be real here. Mom and Dad were like, "There's no way you're getting to choose. This is what you're watching." Like, if we're having a family movie night, we're watching.
Yeah. We weren't really watching. R-rated movies and stuff like that growing up. Anything with guns.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to watch. Yeah. Anything with guns or anything too overtly physical, let's say, we weren't allowed to watch those. Not when you're the son of a pastor.
Right.
There's certain things you're allowed to watch. But no, I mean, I also enjoyed, like, remember the movie Gladiator? Russell Crowe.
That's all time for me, dog.
Yeah, one of my favorites. And then also,
there's so many takeaways from that one.
Oh, big time.
So I think that's when he comes back and his family's burning.
Yeah.
Grabs his wife's feet, man. Like, woof.
Yeah. He's like, okay, it's on now. Yeah, it's on now. Like, you can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Run it. I think low key, I'm also a big fan of like Leonardo DiCaprio. I like pretty much like all his movies.
Okay.
The one that really sticks out to me is, do you remember Shutter Island?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic movie where he's at like the mental asylum.
Yeah.
And he's in there looking for like the criminal, but it's him, but he's gone crazy because, he killed his wife, he killed their kids and did all that stuff. And yeah, it's a big mind bender thriller.
Good pull.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that movie. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Wow. Well done. Yeah, Gladiator's all time for me too, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. You already know, you've listened to a ton of episodes. Last question before we let you go. First of all, glad we were able to do this, sort out the time. Appreciate you. You know, we've known each other a long time. So it's kind of cool to see kind of what people are doing with their lives these days. And it's kind of full circle, you know? So congrats to you and all your success. And, you know, I think the role that you're in is meant to be, right? It's kind of like the perfect spot for you. I think you're going to kill it and continue to do it. So congrats on 1 year, and you got like 25 more to go, man. Who knows where that'll take you. And you're like, nah, I'm gonna be well retired by then. But who do you want to see on AHoopsJourney?
Who do I want to see? First of all, thanks for that. What you just said there, I really appreciate it. And it is full circle from, you know, Thomas Haney Spring League with you and Colin coaching us to now, you know.
We didn't mess you up too bad. That's good.
No, you definitely didn't, man. You guys taught me a lot. So I really appreciate it, man. And again, for you guys, congrats on all your success. Congrats on 20 years in education, and, you know, you're a provincial championship winning coach as well. And you've made a big difference in tons of kids' lives as well. So
thanks, man.
I'm really just trying to follow your footsteps and follow your lead, man. You definitely have a lot to be proud of. And I know there's a lot of kids out there who definitely look up to you and what you've been doing.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. What I want to see on this podcast, I got a few actually.
Yeah.
And I can't get you in touch with these people for sure. Again, I'll start with my brother. I think my brother has a really good basketball story as well, which continues now. And he's low key probably the most athletic in our family. Like all four of us were CIS athletes. Both my sisters played volleyball. Trinity Western, Ruth was at Trinity Western. CIS, Joy played at Thompson Rivers, UCC back in the day. And then Tim also played at the Thompson Rivers. He played soccer, and he also played for Scott Clark for, I think, 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, his basketball journey is great as well. Again, he's a provincial champion, and then also he's doing great things with Northern Bounce. And he also has the little podcast that he started as well. The Bounce. I was going to say, we
just got to let him know that I'm the host, you know?
Yeah, fast. And I can make sure he knows me. I mean, he can talk, man. He can talk for a long time. I know I'm long-winded sometimes, but he'll put me to shame.
His energy is different, though.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way.
Oh, in a fantastic way. I love that kid too. He's great. Actually, I'm thinking by the time this episode comes out, I'll be an uncle. I know I shouldn't say it right now, but he's about to be a father as well. So shout out.
Let's go.
And Ashley. So shout out to them. So
congrats.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So I would definitely suggest Tim. I can get you in touch with him, but I'm sure you can do that as well. But I'll definitely do that.
Okay.
I talked about John Boateng earlier, with his program with Dream Hoops and the program that they're doing at St. Pat's. So not just him, but I think you should probably bring on John and also Nat Santos together, because what those guys have built out there in Vancouver is unbelievable. Like, these guys have literally built like a dynasty over the last few years. Like, I think they've won 3 of the last 4 or 2 of the last 3, something like that. I think COVID missed a year, but
back to back for sure. Yep.
Yeah, they do an amazing job just developing the game, especially within like the Filipino community. And I think they're great people. They're great coaches. So I think they have a really cool story that people would be interested in hearing.
Yep.
And the last person that I would suggest, and this is in no particular order, I think you should also get Taylor Cherish Welding on here as well.
So here's a funny story. We did it's like a 1-year anniversary thing at the Parkside Brewery.
Yeah.
And so he came out, and he was one of the guys that we just kind of did a live thing with, right?
Oh,
but then the audio was like all messed up. So I'm like, listen, man, we'll get you back on because.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
You're right.
You got to get him on.
Encyclopedia, man. When we were talking, I was like, oh, this guy is crazy.
Yeah. He remembers all the games. And the funny thing, like, his mom will remember those games. Like, his parents were very, very involved.
Really?
I'm still, I was very close with their parents growing up. And like, his dad came, we were back in DC in 2021.
Dad always comes over to me. He'll always come over and say hi.
Yeah.
Like, So
his dad and his sister came by the house and met my daughter at the time. My son wasn't born, obviously, but they came by. We've been friends with the whole family for years.
Yeah.
So Taylor, he and I started Rain City basketball back in 2017. I was still living here, so I haven't been involved pretty much at all. Probably since then. But like, what he's been able to build, and this is like his real passion project. He's really passionate about not just the game, but about people and relationships and really growing the game of basketball and providing opportunities for kids who might not have those opportunities. So we spoke earlier about people who are in the club basketball system or the AAU circuit who are doing things the right way. He's one of those ones, who's definitely doing things the right way with Rain City, the way he's been able to grow that from, like 6 kids at what school were we at? Templeton High School, something like that, to I don't know how many club teams that he has now, and they're doing the circuit, and he's got his the Splash It Up 3-on-3 coming up. Again, like I can't speak enough about Taylor and how much he means to me as a brother, both on and off the court. So I definitely will be tuning in for his episode when you get him on for all three of those suggestions.
Love it. Any last thoughts or reflections, man? We appreciate you. It is 11:26 your time PM.
Yeah, man, it's time for a little snack, and then I'll get some sleep, because I think my daughter, she's like clockwork. She'll wake up like around 1 and then find her way back to the bed. So I'll be ready for that.
Does she feed, or is it just like, hey, just letting you know I'm still here and I'm gonna go back to bed now?
Yeah, she still feeds a little bit.
Ruin your sleep for the night, Dad. Mom. Yeah.
She feeds a little bit. But obviously her brother is taking the lion's share of what's there. But sometimes if she comes back to the bed, so I can gauge it. If I'm like, okay, you know what, you can just stay. But if not, I'll just take her back to then I'll sleep with her in her bed, because she's still like a contact sleeper. I don't know what we set up, but yeah. Anyways, in terms of last reflections, no, again, I just want to thank you, man. Like I really appreciate the invite. I mean, I was like low key waiting for this moment. Like since you started the podcast, I'm like, man, that would be an amazing podcast to be on and just sort of share the story, just based on the quality of guests that you've had to sort of be in the same, same group of alumni from this podcast. It's an honor to be a part of it. So I really appreciate you inviting me to be part of this, and I really wish you continued success, and wish all the best for you and the family. Obviously, raising kids is not easy, so everything with the son and the wife, I wish you guys all the success in the world. Any way I can help support you guys from here, just let me know, man. I'm definitely here for you guys.
Gotta appreciate it, man. We'll bring E out to courtside when you come in December. You can meet him and chase him around a little bit.
Absolutely.
Uncle M can have a moment.
For sure. We'll definitely do it, man.
But thank you, man. And I know, like, upon reflection, this episode, there's going to be so many takeaways for different reasons for different people. And I think a lot of people will tune in just because they appreciate you and your spirit, man. You have a good way about you, and you have a charisma that not a lot of people do. And you're kind of a real person as well. Like when people meet you and chat with you, it's authentic. And I think that's why you've listed off so many people that are important in your life, is because they want to be around you as well. So it says a lot. And I think also life's funny. It worked funny, and LinkedIn was the connection, pardon the pun, but there was a reason too, man. Like some things are just kind of meant to be, and good things come to good people. So all the best to you, man. Appreciate you. Keep in touch, and thanks for everything.
Thank you, man. Those are really kind words. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
You got it. What a great episode. 112. For those that are looking to get to Abu Dhabi in October, get your flight booked. I don't think there's room at the Unaegbu house, but there is some probably good accommodation that he can help you out with. Thanks to everyone and our sponsors, and we'll see you on the next episode.